Good morning, traders, and welcome back to the action. Of course, wouldn't you know it, Trump's bill actually got the pass by the July 4th deadline, and we'll be talking about what's going on out there, traders. Seems like my mic's a little bit off, but I'll adjust that in a second here. Let's get the show started. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. Let's kick things off with the countdown. Just get the show started as I'll adjust my mic a little bit there. Let's go.
Wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money. It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
All right, traders. There you go. Sound a little bit better there. Let me know in the chat how my audio sounds, as it sounds a little bit off there, but let's kick things off. It's good to see you guys this morning. It's good to be back in the hot chair, and I'm ready to see what's going on in the market action as we speak. There's a lot going on. Of course, we did get the gap up. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We can go through the watch list. We can take a look at sectors. We got a lot to talk about right here on Trade the Pool, of course. Let's take a look first at the overall market. See how that's performing right now, and you guys can see here as we're doing really good. I mean, continuing to chug along up there on the SPY, and it's been like kind of an uptrend, right? We were looking for when we were going to get that next expansion move up. We got that expansion move up. We've been riding it about 3.5%. Now having a little bit of an inside day, of course, a little bit of a topping candle on Thursday. So today's going to be a big watch to see if we undercut Thursday's low. Right now, this morning, we held it to the key, 622.43, 622.43. That's very important. I think that's what we got to keep our eyes out for, cuts underneath. But right now, we're getting more and more comments of what? Comments from Trump's tariffs, of course. We'll talk more about the big, beautiful bill during the show. We're going to dive deeper inside of that, so stick around for that, guys. We got a lot more for you guys, and we'll take a look at some other action, right? How can we get into some different trades out there, and we'll keep battling. We'll take a look into if I can get this swing account. I want to keep pushing, guys. I want to keep pushing, see what else we can come up with. But we got a lot more for you guys right here, of course, on Trade the Pool. We'll take a look at the action as this pulls back. We'll go to the Playbook and take a look at there. Q's pulling back a little bit right now. And, of course, we'll talk all about Tesla. We got more to talk about Tesla today. Let's get to the action. We'll go to the sunrise report. We'll go to the Playbook after that, as some of you guys are coming in here. Let's just kick the Playbook off. We'll just do 3 names that you guys have already heard. Reason why is I think today is just continuing with the themes and just continuing with the trends out there. Let's get to the action. All right, traders, first one up we can take a look at is XYZ. Of course, I've been talking about Block, looking for this to go strong, and it is getting strong. And you can not only look at Block, you can also take a look at other names. PayPal doing well as of late. Another one that you guys can take a look at just in the kind of payment space, as these are all kind of doing a little bit better, is Toast. Toast doesn't look bad. That could break above 46 and continue to climb back. This has been a really good name since it broke the base around 28 and has been pretty strong. I like this overall, but really this is more of a blockchain play. You can also take a look at SoFi. SoFi has been really hot as of late. I think I'm looking for a pullback into the 9 EMA. But I think at some point we could break the 19 and get over towards the 20s and really start to break out over the highs. And SoFi starting to go back to all-time highs, 25 in reach, and really could be at 30 by the end of the year. We'll see what happens there in SoFi. Keep your eyes on this name. I think it's a retail favorite, and thus will get the attention that it needs to get the push. Look how the volume went increasing into this drive. Now you're getting this sideways consolidation with lower volume, showing you that shorts are not coming in, but also that longs haven't taken the big position again. Look for the day where it breaks out with that big bar again to show you that big move higher. We'll see what happens there in SoFi. All right, guys, there is some news out there that we got to talk about. It looks like CoreWeave and Core Science, Core Z, came in with some news there. CoreWeave is acquiring Core Scientific in an all-stock deal that actually knocked the stock down big here. So big. Looks like it's a complicated deal. That's one thing I will say. It actually knocked down CoreWeave here for a good bit. It's down here all the way down to the 1530s now. I actually might look to dip buy this as it's been really kind of beaten down. I think it was a little bit of an overreaction on the first time, and now it could come right back. We'll see what happens here. I might take a little swing trade on this. Let's see if I can get this, guys. This is based off of news, so we got to be really quick on this and got to be careful here if we do take the trade. Only want to risk about 20 bucks if I want to do this. So it might just go a little bit smaller than even the 100 shares. Let's just take a shot there. Let's see if I can get an entry at 15.25 so I can risk about 25 bucks here. Orders out there, 15.25. Try to get the swing trade on Core Z here. This did get acquired. So for me, it was a little bit of an overshoot to come down that fast. But of course, CoreWeave, and we can take a look at how that's performing off of this, right? CoreWeave is definitely going to be important. That's also came down on this. So it's interesting that they both came down. So I'm interested to see how this performs off of this. Now it's starting to come back through the 1550s. Might have to step up here, but I have too much size if I'm going to go up to the 1540s. So I'm willing to go up to the 1530s here, but I'm looking for a pullback to the 1525s. Still no pullback there. Could even come back to the 15s here. So right now I'm just watching it. Not much action coming off of this. We'll see if we can get an entry. No entry just yet. It's kind of hanging out there too long there. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to cancel for right now. Look to see if we can get a pullback to the 15 there and get some bottoming a little bit more. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a good sign. It just needs some buying here, and it's not really getting it. At least that's not what I'm seeing right now on Core Z. It's still down there to the 1540s. Could come down to the 15 one more time and then create that double bottom approach. That's what I'm going to give it a chance to do here. Come down towards this, create a wick here, and then recover that. Then we can take a shot on the swing side back up. But CoreWeave definitely getting hit there also on this. This is going to affect the market overall and shows you a little bit more of that momentum slowdown. We'll see what happens as the Qs are pulling back, and we'll see if we get some actual momentum breakdown there. All right, in the playbook, let's continue with the playbook. Next one up on the playbook I want to talk about is ANF. ANF, of course, has been hot as of late, and this is all on Nike's report. I think this is a great one. I talked about it for a swing off of this kind of break of the 85. It's continued now. It went to all the way to 93 last week. I think we got to look for a little bit maybe of a pullback week, a little bit of a pullback into this, because I think this is going to be more about going into August. So the key here is be careful with the pullback, but the pullback could give us better entries for swing trades on these pullbacks to the 9 EMA. So a pullback to 86 seems perfect for me today to jump on that and try to ride it back there towards 100. We'll see what happens on ANF and other players in the retail space. Another thing that won't hurt it is XRT to the highs, right? If XRT is breaking and maybe going to all-time highs, maybe pushing right back towards this move in 2021, well, then we got to be looking to ride that move. Just look to see that it's certain names. It's not going to be all the names that are moving in the XRT. And I think that that's the important part. You can do this by a look like of RSI. You can see how Bath and Body Works actually getting a little bit of a lift and some pretty strong move there. So Abercrombie comes into play there, and you got some other names to kind of watch here. Sally's Beauty Holding getting a little lift there. So Auto Nation, now that one is a really good play, guys. I really like this. Auto Nation at all-time highs, probably continuing. And this strong move last week. This is up to do with more auto plays, but Dillard's also, look at the breakout there, and Dillard's right back to the upside. So Dillard's has a tendency of outperforming. Let's just say this. Sometimes I don't even know how Dillard's can continue to perform like it does, but it does, the price action at least. Look at the rise in the last kind of week, about 9% there for Dillard's. This is what I mean by the change that happened from Nike's report. Gap has a huge gap to close, pun intended. This is another one that we can look at with this retail trade going higher. All right, that Core Z just kind of holding on that 1550s. We'll see what happens on that thing, but definitely ugly move on that. All right, we'll be joined by Michael Noss coming up here at 9 a.m. Excited to keep it going today and excited to keep on trading, guys. We'll look for some small names. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. ARTL got all the way up there as high as 33.33 this morning, 8 a.m., all the way up there. It went, and it was a rocket ride, guys. This thing went from, I think, like what, $10 to 32. Wow. Wow, what a ride this morning. 7:55. If you were up there and you did this morning, well, shout out to you guys, because this thing rocketed right before 8 a.m. We'll see what happens on the ARTL if it can continue going. There's some other small names that we can watch out there also. It's going to be an interesting day for the playbook. We'll take a look at different watch out there. Let's go and move on over now to the sunrise report. Of course, it's 8:50. We're getting closer and closer towards, of course, the market open. We'll be watching to see if that Core Z can get a little bit of a bounce or not. Definitely, it's an interesting deal. I need to look a little bit deeper inside the specifics of that press release. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my good old AI to kind of understand a little bit more about what's going on there in that deal. So, hey, the fun part is I can do this with you guys live, right? Boom. There you go, getting it in there, and I'll let you guys know some more specifics about the deal and a little bit more that I can actually tell you guys. And just like that, I got it for you guys already, right? The exchange ratio is an interesting one. So the per share value is $20.40 per Core Scientific share. That's where it's really interesting to see this stock trading at $15 if it's going to get a sale of the at least per share value up to 2040. So there's kind of like no reason for it to be down here. This is the hard part about these kind of deals. I'm going to take a little shot here if it undercuts 15 and starts to come back up through the 15. But you guys got to be careful on these types of deals. But I can tell you guys that right now, I'm taking a look on this. Look at this right here, of course. A little bit more about that deal, right? 2040 per the scientific shares, a 66 premium of that 1230 price, right? So that's what they're kind of nailing it down, right? The expected closes in Q4, right? So those are all things that could be kind of coming in here. So Core Z is down to there to that $15. It just bounced. I just talked about how I wanted to see a bounce off that 15. It just regained that. Let's go ahead and get after it here and see if we can catch the bottom here, guys. All right, guys, just took a little bit of that, guys. I'll fill you guys in. There you guys see the share price there, the 100 shares, 15.13. I can hold it off the bottom, which is 14.91. We're going to risk off that 14.91 and look to see if Core Z can come back roaring. All right, we'll see what happens trying to bottom dip and buy this Core Z as we went through and just broke down the deal with AI. And that's what it's all about, guys. Try to do things like this. It can catch you a good run. All right, guys, we'll see what else is out there. Is it down because of the all stock deal? Yeah, it's down because of that, but it's kind of weird because it's a risk arb play, right? So both of them shouldn't be going down. One of them should be going up and one of them should be going down. So I would think that, of course, Core Weave would be going down because it's the acquirer, right? It's the one that paid the price. And of course, Core Z just gained in value. So it has almost no business being down here, right? So I took the shot there, guys. You guys see me now back into the green, now starting to get a little bit of a move up. And I'm just going to look to ride this for a bigger return, right? I'm looking to see if this can just start to grind back, especially towards the open. That'd be a good sign. And not breaking the low right now, which is around the 1490s. We'll see what happens on this one. All right, let's get to the sunrise report. You guys see this trade. We'll talk a little bit more about it. I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll let you guys know how it's performing. Just wanted to make sure I got it open today and was able to take another shot there. But let's keep going, guys. We'll see what else is out there and what else we can come up with. All right. Looks like, are my charts struggling a little bit there? Yeah, it looks like my TC charts are struggling a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Let's just keep it going. Let's get towards the show there. And yeah, Looks like my TC charts are frozen. That's it. That's an interesting one. My TC charts very rarely freeze. There it is. It woke up. You guys saw me wake it up. All right, there you go. It looks like it didn't get its coffee this morning, but I hope you guys got your coffee this morning. And if you didn't, well, get ready because Mitch got the espresso to start your morning. Let's get to it and to this morning's Sunrise Report. All right, traders, we'll see what's going on this morning. Of course, let's start it off with what happened throughout the weekend, right? The futures were sliding amid the tariff confusion. Dow futures were down. The S&P futures were down, but of course you guys saw it. We did gap up there, so things are not looking too bad this morning, but we are starting to dip off here. We'll take a look if this is news related. I know there's a lot of comments coming about potential deals this day. I think the next 48 hours was given by Bassett, talking about several trade announcements. There's a lot going on out there, guys, so we got to keep our eyes out. And also the reaction, of course, of the big, beautiful bill. We'll see what happens there. And it had the market priced in, right? A tariff implementation this week, right? New guidance from the Trump administration indicts that August 1st will now be the key date where these tariffs will actually take off. So we went from it being in April to it now being in August. So I think in this case, maybe the tariffs just get pushed back, right? Tariff effects, of course, go into effect on August 1st, but we'll be hearing about what those tariffs really are throughout this week, right? The new twist, of course, is that Trump floated an additional 10% on tariffs on countries aligned with anti-American policy at the BRIC, the BRICS, signaling out Brazil, Russia, India, and China, but offered no policy details. That's the interesting part, of course. We'll see what happens as the market fears the tariff volatility could disrupt the rally, even as some investors expect strong earnings and resilience from U.S. multinationals. We'll see what happens there, and we'll have to keep an eye out to see what happens in Amazon. Of course, all eyes will be open to see what happens there in Amazon as we get some Prime action. I don't know about you guys, who's buying their Prime deals this week? I know I'm looking at buying some deals tomorrow. So, hey guys, we'll see what happens there. Amazon was up, now pulling back a little bit there. Will Amazon continue the lift off of their Amazon Prime deals? Well, I'll tell you one thing, they have 4 of them this year. And of course, what does Walmart Plus do? It has some deals today also. So it's not like it's just going to be Amazon. Seems like all the e-commerce guys just copy each other every time, right? All right, that's going to be on Prime Day. It runs from July 8 to 11. Strong demand is expected in electronics, back to school gear, of course. And that could help kind of push these sales, right? And that's why they did them around this time to try to push people. Online sales are projected to surge to $23.8 billion during this week's 96-hour of Amazon Prime deal. And that's according to Adobe Analytics. And keep your eyes on that, right? Because it's supposed to be up 28.4% from last year at that 23.8. We'll be watching to see when we get that number. Was it did they blow it out? Right? Those types of things could help the stock continue forward. We'll see what happens on that one. Let's move over now to Tesla, of course. And I can't wait to talk with a little bit about this with Michael coming up, as Tesla fell more than 6% as the CEO, of course, announcing that he's founded the America Party, a new political initiative aimed at influencing a handful of Senates and House races. They're really just trying to shake up things, right? And that's what it seems like Musk is trying to do here. Wall Street, of course, has grown increasingly sensitive to Musk's political moves as Tesla takes the beating for it, down to 295 today. Will it go further? I think that's all things that could happen here. We'll see what happens there. Of course, Apple's interesting, as Apple's, they're calling it the split personality. But really, I think that you got to look at the price action. This is a perfect example of what the media is telling us versus what I want you guys to see here and really look at. Apple's been hot. Apple looked like it's bottomed. It bottomed around 195. We've talked about that level countless times right here on the stream. And we talked about all that recovery of 200. Now it's been hot, guys. It had 4 straight days to the upside, 5% run. Now, will it get to that trend line? That's what I drew back there, right? We were looking to see if it was going to make its way back here. Now, I think it's important to look at it because it actually had some good news here. Let's talk about the good part. The first blockbuster film, of course, F1 debuted for 155 million in the opening weekend box office and rave reviews. F1 showed Apple at its best, analysts said, citing Apple's long-term vision and cultural relevance. Of course, this is very important because at the end of the day, they did get hit about their AI conversation and all that. But Apple used its ecosystem edge to promote Formula One. It's of course, Blockbuster, and it included even pushing ticket discounts via the Wallet app and leveraging stars like Brad Pitt and Lewis Hamilton and promotions with CEO Tim Cook. So, hey, guys, this is something definitely to keep an eye out for. We'll see what happens out there, guys. I'm definitely going to be looking at this. I'm right now keeping a little eyes on CoreWeave Scientific here because I can't let it go too far down there. It's right off that 1490s. Has hit 1480s here, so I'm just keeping an eye on it there. But definitely keep your eyes on the action on Apple. We'll look to see if Apple can get another lift. All right, that's enough on the, of course, Sunrise Report. It's time to go ahead and bring on my co-host, of course, Michael Noss. What's going on, man? How we doing? Good morning to you. How's it doing over there in good old Canada? Did you get some of our smoke from July 4th? All the fireworks.
I was about to say, you got your fingers? Yeah, they're all.
It was fire. I don't know what happened out there, but
that was my message. Just all the Americans was like, fireworks are dangerous. You're drinking a little, right? Make sure you pull those fingers back just a bit.
Yeah. Keep those fingers away from the fuse, right?
Just to hit the buy button, right? You need some strong fingers to hit the buy button in this bull market.
Always need those strong fingers. Right now, I'm thinking about cutting this CoreWeave Scientific position. This is an interesting one. It's more like a risk arb trade, but I don't do these too often. But the way that the action was this morning, it was really interesting. Spitting out right now. It's trying to cut me out. We'll see what happens off that 1470s. Yeah, it's spreading out way too much there. I'm probably just going to go ahead and cut it here, guys. Let's see if it holds the 1470s. I'm really getting close to cutting that one. That's CoreWeave Scientific. It had this deal with CoreWeave. So it's really just interesting, man. The deal's a buyout at like 20 something, but the stock's been going down since the first spike. So it's just really interesting there. Normally you don't see this, right? The acquirer is usually the one going down. That's why the risk arbs are playing this thing. I'm just amazed by it right now. I'm going to probably have to get rid of it, guys. I'm getting rid of it here. I'm trying to get out there on a limit. Let's see if I get out at the 1460s here.
They're buying them at 20 and it's a 14?
It doesn't make sense to me, man. All right, I'm getting out, guys. I'm going to take the small hit there. It took like a $71 hit there. Definitely went down a little bit further right there as I was watching it. But it just doesn't make sense to me, guys, on the action. No. So we're going to find out a little bit more about this deal, right? I think there's some more particulars. And I even tried to use AI to look a little bit deeper inside of it on why, like, what could it be like, right? But at least even AI couldn't really find anything in the press release. So I'll do a little bit more diving here. I'll let Michael kind of kick things off. I'll let you guys know if I find anything else. There has to be something else on why this is going down so much. I mean, I know that CoreWeave itself is a very hard ticker to short right now. It's like a huge borrow fee. Maybe that's impacting it, but I don't know. It's very confusing for it to be down this much. And CoreWeave not down nowhere near as much, right? Like CoreWeave's down about 5%. And this went up there for a second there. It went up 20%. And since that 20%, it's down 31%. So really interesting there. I don't know what's going on here. We'll see what happens, guys. All right, getting out of that conversation at least for now.
Well, and just to explain for those who don't really follow, like why we're so confused is, if they're buying the company and they're saying the company is worth X, generally speaking, for $20, for example, you expect this to go up to 18, 19, and then slowly, as it gets closer and closer to the buyout date, slowly drift up to $20 as you're taking off risk premium and things like that and going from there. So the fact that this is not doing that is just really confusing. So it's either, we're missing something in the bio details, or this is 100% free money. And it's like you want to try to figure that out relatively quickly, which I think is, Mitch hit, I think is a great use of AI, right? Is that you can go through and say, like, what am I missing? Am I missing something, or is the street missing something, or what's going on here? Because usually it's a pretty straightforward trade. Is you short the company acquiring it, you buy the company that's getting acquired, and then that it's not going to go to the price that it's going to be acquired at. It goes a little bit under, and the reason for that is two things. One is risk. There's always a risk that something has, there's risk of it getting blocked or somehow the deal blowing up. But then the second one is time value of money. So yeah, for the commenter saying someone doesn't want to park their money in it for that long, well, that's why it will trade at 18 instead of like 20. Because if it's going to take 6 months to do it, they look at how much you could make in the risk-free rate, and it gets discounted that way as well. So all that is usually all calculated into the price. So the fact that we're not getting that shows that there's just something weird going on, maybe something missed in the press release or some shenanigans. So yeah, you definitely want to take a look at that. But just quickly, what I'm seeing here in the markets, this is one of those where if you look at the SPY, it's really weird. If you look at the SPY, we're gapping down, right? Because the SPY, of course, as an ETF, was closed on Friday and closed early on Thursday. If you look at the ES, if you look at the futures contract, that is normal as well. But if you look at the CFD, the S&P 500, it looks a little bit different, where the S&P 500 on the CFD side of things bled all Friday and is now gapping up. So some strangeness going on there in the market. So just kind of keep that in mind, just based off of what instrument you're looking at. But we're going to focus on the SPY anyway. So gapping down a little bit, has to at some point. We're up as like 8 days in a row straight up. So having a rest day seems totally normal. If this is going to be a pullback day, it's going to be great, because what's going to happen is we're going to be able to find out really quickly what's holding up, what's not pulling back, right? That's the main thing that we want to look for, is that, if you have, say we are going to pull back 1% or so today, you just go in your list in your portfolio personally, and then go in your list of the stocks you watch and look for the ones that are holding on, the ones that aren't getting kind of smacked. And those might be a very interesting one to take a look at. For example, Webull, I really like the look of. It's gapping down here. I actually have this on one of my swing trading algorithms for a pullback. If it got to 1280, and it's below that right now. So this is one that could be a good little pullback. Crypto is holding up relatively well, not crazy well, but still holding up pretty well today above this zone here. So we need to keep an eye on it. I can't wait for the market to open, so it'll give us a good idea of what's going on here. But if you look, IWM is down 0.73 because IWM always sucks. The SPY is down, but RSP, or the equal weighted S&P 500, is actually down a little bit less, showing that the average large cap company is doing better than the cap weighted large caps, which generally only happens when you have, the big names. And, Mitch already covered this with Tesla. When you have something like Tesla is kind of weighing down the markets, where the rest of the small cap or large caps are actually doing okay. So, it's kind of a story of one or two stocks that we have to see what happens. So Tesla is one thing that I'm going to watch off the open for my little strategy here as well. So, we have this push up potentially, and then it can close the gap, because Tesla gaps down because Elon does dumb stuff on Twitter, and then we all get over it. It seems like that is the story of a Tesla shareholder, right? Remember, I have this bar here highlighted, and all the range inside this bar, because this is the breakup that's happening right here. So, we're inside this range. But yeah, Rando saying we're basically at Thursday's open, so we'll see. But it hasn't been. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days of 8 days of consecutive higher lows. You see, we haven't been able to break the low of the candle below it for 8 days. So The only thing I know for sure is that at some point we're going to break the low of the
Yeah.
candle before us, right? It's so today it seems like a good enough day as any. I would like to see, just to keep things healthy, I would like to see a pullback to this 613, this prior all-time high break, because we just blew through that all-time high. We gave no retest to see if there's any demand in that zone. We gave no pullback since we've done that. It's been just a straight rip from that zone. So I would like to see that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. No one cares what I would like to see, but that's something that I think is going to be important going forward if we can get that kind of a pullback here. So I took a look at the, let me see if I can grab it here, the commitment of traders data, just to see where they're at, and they shorted a little bit more last week, which I think is just insanity. So if you're a contrarian person, you are still going to be looking to bet to long this market. If you think that the average trader out there, the large and small one, lose money over time, which is my thought, is that most of these guys lose money. So let me grab this here and then copy this over into here. There we go. So ignore the red line. So the green line is the large traders out there, and the blue line is the small traders. So you can see the blue line has been pretty much flat. They haven't been, the small traders haven't been making too many moves one way or another. They're generally always long. It's rare to have these guys short the market. When they do short the market, look out because they're always wrong. But yeah, on the blue line, sorry, they bought a little bit last week, but they're still net short. So everyone's still net short the market. So that to me is a very interesting thing where I want to be potentially buying that, because I want to fade what most people are doing, and they're betting against the market. So, but we need that pullback. So if we can get a pullback down into the 613, 614 area, to me, that's a viable pullback, especially as long as everybody is short.
It's crazy to me, the action on that core we report, man. I don't even know what to say, man. I've done my
No
digging.
new information.
There's nothing there, man. There's nothing there. I don't understand it either, because I've even asked some risk arb. I've looked at some risk arb profiles that I don't think they even understand what's going on. So that's when it gets really confusing. The guys where this is their specialty don't even know what the hell's going on in that one.
So does that mean it's like, is it free money? Should I be like taking real money?
At least from the PR, it seems like it's literally free money. And there's volume coming in it now. I'm watching it. Like someone's buying up down here, but it's just more, can you take that damage? Because when it goes down fast right here. I think a big part of this also is pre-market, right? If we got to the open and it was down here, I would feel a little bit better, because liquidity will kind of improve a little bit on the downside risk. But I'm just going to watch it. If it clears 15, I'll let you guys know. I think this is one where it's like, let it continue the leak until it shows us that it wants to come back, right? I'll let you guys know when it actually starts to come back, or something comes out that at least explains why this is continuing the incredible leak that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and that's,
it's all stock deal. Like if there was like some combination of options or something like that, but it's an all stock deal with a given ratio.
And
it just doesn't make sense.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, this isn't something that, well, I guess I was going to say, is the FCC going to block it? But I don't think in this environment that the FCC is going to.
I don't think. I don't think, at least right now. We could take a look at one of the high flyers right now, trying to take off again. ARTL. This is the high flyer of the day, man. There it is. There it is, right there, guys. Look at that thing. It's set up here. It's trying to come back. Let's see what happens. And try to put a big bar in.
I don't want to get overexcited, but in the pre-market anyway, I have taken a Tesla trade here, and fully systematic.
Tesla long or Tesla short?
Tesla long right here on this green arrow, and it put out a stop loss and a profit target automatically and trade the pool. So maybe I worked a little bit on the weekend. We had some emails back and forth. It looked like it wasn't me going crazy. It was just not implemented. But we did that as well. So maybe, again, I don't want to get everyone too excited, but maybe we could be very close here to testing this. So again, I'll continue to take you guys on that ride. But yeah, Tesla is one that I'm interested in fading this gap.
Yeah.
Webull, I'm interested in fading the gap, and I'm just going through some of them now. These QBTS and IONQ are gapping a little bit, but nothing really substantial. There's not a lot of really huge gaps to look to fade this morning that I'm seeing. So I want to continue to look, but nothing really is standing out to me too crazy anyway.
Yeah, and throughout the show, I think a little later, I'll get to deeper. I got some insights on the big, beautiful bill. We can talk about things that it could affect, trade ideas, and some will be longer term, right, out of the deal. But we'll talk a little bit more about that during the show. Stick around for that. We'll talk more about that at 10 a.m. as we kick things off, right? We'll see what happens here towards the open. VIX still looking a little bouncy, but I don't think anyone's really stressing about that. I think what we got to be watching to see is what happens with the tariffs this week, or will we actually get mentions of actual letters to go out? I mean, to confuse it, I already say it, man. I put it out on Twitter. I was like, it seems like they're making this policy on the fly. every corner, man, is just like, man, okay, so now we're going to do it this way, and now we're going to do it that way.
I don't think that really shocks. I don't think that would really shock anyone if that's the case. If they're just
it's just it makes it difficult. It really does make it difficult. I feel like, but hey, we'll have to wait and see, guys. And you're taking a look at some Stellantis. You long on some Stellantis?
I'm looking. I'm just going through my gap list here just to see.
That's actually a trade that I think is interesting there because, of course, as we know that with the big, beautiful bill, we got the EV mandate out, right? With that EV mandate out, what it does help is it helps these car producers because it's going to be easier for them to produce gas guzzling vehicles than it is going to be to produce EV vehicles. The number one thing that people are a little bit concerned about right now is the total price of the vehicle, right? Total price of the vehicle just being too expensive. Easiest way to bring that price down, not make them EVs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this actually helps them. And if you know about Stellantis also has Ram underneath their belt, and Ram just got their CEO to come on back as the CEO of Stellantis overall now. And I think this is important because he's bringing back big engines, Hemi, back into the Ram. I think you might see this also happen to Ford and GM, where they make mentions of, hey, we're going to bring back this big engine, where it was all about, hey, we're going to come out with this EV. Well, now come and bring me back those gas guzzlers and watch how the stock reacts.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people kind of gravitate towards, right? It's not going to be something that will be fast, right? If you're changing the auto manufacturing, it's going to take some time. So, I'm sure they just can't whip up. Hopefully, you wouldn't want them just to whip up a new engine type right off the bat and give that to you because it's probably not going to be tested very well. So, it'll be interesting.
I mean, they could just bring back the ones that they had, right? They took them away. It wouldn't be like a new engine. It would just be an updated of their old that they took away, that they took off the market. And some, let's say, like truck fans, like real truck fans, were really mad about these engines being taken off. Yeah, they're not the most fuel efficient, but they work and they ride for 200,000 miles. So I could care less about it being fuel efficient if it's going to ride that long, right? These EVs, nowhere near are they going to ride that long, right? It's going to make a truck not what it was. But hey, we'll see what happens there, guys. Interesting.
What do you think with BMNR? Is this going to be a crazy in play one still?
I don't know, man. I'm watching that Core Z, guys. I might take it back through 15 here. It's coming back.
Just add. If I'm doing this right,
I'll take it with a lower size this time. I'm taking a little bit there as it's coming to $14.99. We'll see what happens on that, but I just feel like, man, this was just Shouldn't even have been down there. We'll see what happens. Took a little bit there. Just going to take it, but I'm going to risk off the 14. I'm going to give it a whole buck. We'll see what happens. That's about $76 of risk. See if it can get back there to about 18 or 19, and that will still be a really nice gain.
Yeah, that'd be a great gain. Like it should.
I'm just going to go off of that based off of the price action coming back. And then I saw a lot of sizing come in between 1450, like 1425s. And then when it went back through 1425s. So my idea is there's buyers, some big buyers somewhere between 1450 here. And we'll look to see if that holds now. I think he's risking on 14s. That'd be risking below the price action. And we talk about these all the time. When you can risk below the price action, take that shot, risk to return, arbitrage style. Yeah, that's where
right. If that
we'll take a little bit more of a shot.
Right. If that is what it is, it should be right. It should be free money, right?
Sometimes it could be a weird reaction, right? Like a weird algo that started to short this thing like crazy.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it messed up the PR release, right? And then it was just shorting this like crazy, and that's why it did that like pop and drop, and out of nowhere it just starts to the real traders are like, whoa, regardless of whatever you're doing, we're seeing that volume flow going down. The shorting is actually coming off, and then now they're going to jump in it to see if they can get it back up. We'll see.
We'll see. And that kind of stuff is the reason for like this kind of move is the reason for halts. Right now it's pre-market, so there's no halts, but it's if there is nothing that was missed in the reports or anything, then it was probably just an algo that was misprogrammed and was meant to buy and short it instead. And then, like you mentioned, a lot of human traders would just see this action, like you did, and say, "I'm just going to get out and I'm going to reread this. I don't want to, sit there and kind of go through." And hammer things because
it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see, guys. I'll take the shot at least. And especially you guys know on the swing account, I'm trying to nail this or something. This could be an easy one. If it just starts driving up at the open, well, maybe I can just ride this thing all the way back to the $20. I don't know if it goes back there. Who knows? If it goes back there, I mean, hey, I got myself a nice little $6 return. Right. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's a good teaching moment because these things are, especially with computers nowadays, right, and computerized trading, these things are so rare. Generally speaking, you get the PR and the thing just if it's a $20 buy, the thing just zips up to 19.
The action was happening
like that.
You saw it go to 21, right? I mean, the action was happening where it was going to that price, right? That buyout price, right? And something happened. I saw it quickly, like something happened there. Of course, I wasn't watching the tape, so I didn't know if there was some big tape that showed up there, but it went to like 20. It went to like 21. Right as it broke 21, it went and did this quick move to like 21. Right in that 20 cents, it just down.
I'm with you. In my personal account, I bought a bunch around here just because, when you went back and you couldn't find anything that's wrong, that seems to me worth the risk to, $13 or something like that.
The algo, the AI tried to tell me that this was a sell the news event.
Yeah, well, that's why they're not taking our jobs just yet.
Michael, when I heard that reply, I was like, okay, so you don't even understand this. That's why this stock is doing this. I got my answer. You guys don't understand. The AIs don't understand what's going on with this. If they don't understand, then of course there's going to be some mixed noise on this stock right now. All right, we'll move past this, guys, because I don't want to drive the show just on this. You guys know the trade. I wanted to bring it here so that at least you guys have heard it first, right? You can't tell me tomorrow, Mitch, why didn't we mention CoreWeave? Why didn't we mention it? Well, we talked about it. Let's move forward. Let's get out of that conversation. Bitcoin's definitely going to be a watch. You're talking Hood there. We'll be watching to see what happened. What do you think about this with Hood, Bitcoin? And I see it in the chat comments there. They want to know about the Hood.
Everything in the long run is insanely bullish right now. Everything in the short run is really overextended. So it makes a trade like this hard where, I own the company. I love the company. I love the stock. I'm in it from, in the 40s or high 40s, low 50s in this area right here. I can't buy it up here. I'm not going to short it up here. I don't feel like necessarily taking my profits off the table here. I want something to change. So a lot of these things are kind of out. Now for a day trade, right, you've got a nice kind of congestion here in this time. Get rid of some of these drawings. But yeah, you've got a nice little congestion here around $90. So maybe if you want to take a short through 90, or you want to try to, if it holds that support at 90, maybe that's a good place to take a shot. But yeah, just very overextended, just like with the market, just like with everything. These become very hard markets to trade, because if you are just shorting because the stock went up too high or the things went up too much, I think you're crazy. Because there's no such thing as something going up too much. You can just go back in the history and see that. But at the same time, it gets really hard to buy something that's gone up. In the SPY's case, where we say 8 days in a row straight up, you've got to kind of take a bit of a breath there. So yeah, it becomes a hard place to place trades. So this is why I'm really going to be focusing on kind of the short-term nature, fading gaps, like we talked about with bull. I'm looking to potentially buy that gap down. Wolf, this one here, potentially short this gap up. Just, again, very focused on the kind of swing trading side of things and hoping we get a drop, because a lot of the swing trading systems I do are just buying strong stocks that are getting oversold to the downside, and I don't have any of those right now. So I just gotta sit and wait. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, but I think it's going to be important, especially if this market continues to do what it's doing, which is just ripping to new highs over and over again.
Apple is pulling back on this right now. It seems like an interesting stock to watch. We'll see if we start to get the bounce out there. I love the negative news out there with the positive in Apple. They want to talk about Apple AI, but they didn't want to talk about that movie doing really well. We'll see.
Well, and I don't know. It's like, as much as I think Apple can really, if China can build that DeepSeek AI for really, really cheap and really fast, I just have to believe that Apple can figure it out at some point. I think it's all a branding thing. I don't think Apple wants to. That's why they're calling it like the Apple Intelligence stuff. Like, they never just take a normal thing and put it into their products. They always take some and make some sort of weird word. So I'd be shocked if they ever just say AI and they just call it something different and put it inside the phones in a different way. Yeah. Again, I'm an Apple shareholder, bought at the beginning of the month, so I kind of talk my book a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out, right? I'm not worried about that.
What about AMD on the pullback now? I think it's interesting. Definitely getting that pullback opportunity for sure. It's back down towards the 9 EMA. It's sitting on the 9 EMA. Will we get the opportunity to maybe get a look through 135 and then a recovery today? That's what I'm going to be watching for on AMD. Cut the daily low, right? Come back through the VWAP. We can just keep taking that approach, that strategy, right? Hourlies are right on those levels, right off of that 135.44. You got some lows down to 135.22 and 135.12s. So interesting trade there on AMD.
Yeah, it's all this. I don't know. It's like, yes, it's pulling back a bit. It's just to where it was on Wednesday. I feel like, again, as the guy who's normally pulled up, that we need a bit of a deeper pullback at some point. And
so what about Coca-Cola here? It's a nice setup on the daily.
Yeah, I like Steve. It was me and Steve, I think, talking up Pepsi.
Pepsi, yeah, Pepsi.
Talking about the Pepsi chart, nice little breakout there. But yeah, a lot of these kind of safer names might be a place to go. Again, I'm not bearish.
Walmart above 100 call here. What do you think about Walmart here? Setup. I like the setup.
It's a nice looking chart.
There's a gap to the left here at around the February 20th gap. Do you see that gap there? I think it could close that gap to the highs there. That's an interesting gap, Phil, to come after. That's a move up towards like 102.85 here. Interesting.
Yeah, I just feel like we need some sort
pullback.
of rest, and the market will find some news event. There's these times where the market's overextended and it just waits for some sort of news event and says, I'm going to then now short the market because of it.
Let's go. Market's opening here, guys. Let's get after it. Guys, Walmart definitely on the radar for me off of that. I like that look. I'm looking at defensive names also. SoFi, a big rip out the gates. That's one name to keep an eye out for big moves. SoFi starting hot this morning. We'll see what happens on that.
Yeah, spy a little rip right off the gate there through the open. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
Of course, gotta watch
VWAP for now. We'll see what happens there. Bull, it did trigger my swing trade for anyone who was wondering. So long that in the swing account, just right off kind of the opening price there. Swing trade, not day trade. So day trade has got to get back through that zone.
All right, guys, we'll look to see if it can hold on the 1460s here. For my look on CORZ. I want to see it start getting hot quick. If not, it's probably going to drop fast there.
Yeah, so we will, let's just see. So again, just for testing the bot, I got some test orders, was up this morning. That's why you see me wiping my eyes a lot. Testing some things and maybe working. I'm going to see if anything works. And then if we're getting stop losses, profit targets, kind of the whole nine there as well.
Probably going to get stopped out in this CROZ again, man. This thing just dipping down 50 cents right out the gates here.
Yeah, CoreWeave did a little dump there too.
We'll see what happens, but it's just I don't understand it there. All right,
yeah.
Moving on, right? Still in it right now. But
stuff.
It just
I think it's important to focus on too, because it just shows that sometimes the market doesn't move the way that it should, right?
Yeah, it is. It doesn't always have to be logical. We talk about this MBIO, one of the hot stocks out the gates here in the penny land, up there to 3, almost 4. It ripped out right before this. It's already made like 100% move. It's up 200% there. ARTL pulling back a little bit out the gates there. So you got some names that are moving out there in the penny stock land. We'll see if those can keep going.
Right,
KALV is the last one I'll give there to keep an eye out for.
I got triggered in some of the cues here, and I'll find a better way to share this with you guys in the future. But stop loss and profit target put in the correct positions to the tick. Perfect. So this will be the first fully automated trade. I've had this test account that I bought, and I've just been chopping it down to 0, testing these things. But after a couple days of testing these, I'm going to open up another account, and I'm going to be trading that seriously. And the goal is to never place a trade in the account and pass the challenge. Looks like so far this is working. So again, this isn't available to you guys just yet, just to front run that question, but it's something that we're testing. Is the ability to create indicators in TradingView or our partner TrendSpider, send those to Trade the Pool, so you can do just a little bit of auto trading for nerds like me. Very, very excited for this.
All right, got cut out of that CORZ, so I'm done with her. She's dead. She's dead to me.
I have no idea.
Tesla down 2 out the gates here, getting hit hard. Tesla down to 290s now. Yeah,
below its pre-market low now.
Ugly open here. Ugly open. Q's and SPY going down fast here, guys. Coke going down fast too. It's an ugly, ugly move here. VXX taking off a little bit right out the gates here to 48.33s. Very little buyback action here. We'll see what happens. Yeah, seeing just wipeouts out there, guys. That ARTL pulled back significantly also. We'll see if it recovers, but definitely pulled back there.
So yeah, this is funny with Rocket Lab. It triggered a short right there, but because VWAP was right there, it got in and out within a second, which
Blocked looking decent there, bouncing.
Q. Oh, INQ, same thing. Perfect. All right, so let's take a look at the SPY here. Undercut this, not pre-market lows, but the low right before this level right here. So the question is, are we just going to do this undercut and rip through, or are we actually going to test that? Because we didn't get anywhere near the pre-market low. I'm not even going to include that weird tick, so I'm just going to put it right here. But yeah, this was just the low from like the session right before we got started. So that might take a little bit of a rip and dip there, a nice little push there, just to see if that's one of those liquidity fades or something like that. So
XYZ is a little interesting there. Did dip really significantly this morning, but already recovered that dip from 68. It's a huge dip there. Open and dip about 80 cents there. Actually, a full $1. So I'm just watching it. It's starting to come back there, but
so this would be maybe the setup that we're gonna, because again, this is gonna be kind of setup 2 that I'm gonna try to build into the system, right? If the SPY does this undercut, not necessarily the pre-market low, but again, this important, 830-ish onwards low. If it gets back through VWAP there, that might be an interesting one, and I'm gonna probably just play that with TQQQ. Maybe add that
only
in
one
there.
sector in the green today, real estate from the open. Everything else is down from the open.
Yeah, nice healthy pullback. Let's see how low we can go. We still haven't broken yesterday's low on the SPY, so that seems maybe we'll never do it during a market
Gold
session just
down,
to screw
gold
people.
down. So gold down might be the bet.
Maybe they're just going to gap it down one day, and that's how we're going to go down below a prior day's low. Because we haven't been able to do it so far. You'd think at some point you kind of have to, right? You have to take down the low from the day before. But I've just added TQQQ to that list as well, just to see if there's if we do get up and get through this VWAP right here, that will be the trade to take.
Watching definitely some bull traps out there. Also some big spikes on the 15 minutes. So just be careful out there. We'll see what happens. But AU maybe to the downside today. Gold getting hit hard out the gates here. Watching some gold trade.
And looking here in the sectors, of course, IWM getting hit the worst. It's what IWM does. It gets smoked. Qs trying to recover. Mid caps trying to recover. SPY trying to recover. Dow is only down 0.14%. So that's interesting there.
Looking for a slight dip below 25 on the duster. The duster.
Just got filled on this TQQQ play. You can see right here. A nice little green arrow from there. See if it gets to the 2-day VWAP. So it should have put out the stop 84, the order at 84.33, and it did that perfectly. Oh, I'm excited, guys. Yeah, USD up.
Good.
The Dixie is something that I think is important to look at and important for the stock market. I've bought a whole bunch of dollar futures against different currencies on Friday. And I did a little video about that too, just showing that if you looked at the commitment of traders data, everyone in the world is short the dollar right here, right at its lows. That makes me very interested to potentially buy the dollar. I will really get long if we get back to this 98. That's like where I'll go real nuts there. But the dollar is just important to note because it's going to move with the, the dollar being strong is going to change the way certain countries or certain companies react. Again, obviously going to be very important there as well, right?
Watching dust here.
UST. What was it? G.
I would love a dip towards 25 here to buy in. ETHU pulling back. That could be a look too. It's pulled back a significant amount from the high of last week, which was this 61.50. It's bottomed out there off the 57. So that's kind of your look right now. It's trying to recover VWAP, a strategy that we like to look at.
What's been interesting, is that Ethereum and Solana, at least right now, are actually doing better than Bitcoin, at least for a day. It's not a huge amount of data, but it is doing better. Bitcoin's right on its lows for the days, back at that 108. It seems glued to 108. But Ethereum is not quite at its lows, right? A little bit above the lows from the weekend, and Solana a little bit above the lows for the weekend. So just showing that potential move into some of these crazier kind of risk on, risk off coins.
ANF doing good today off of that $90 bottoming in the morning, already up there towards 92, 93s. I think you could jump on some apparel moves. Look at Gap. Remember I talked about the huge gap, and Gap, pun intended, it is going for it. It looks like it just drove there, 50 cents there, not looking bad at all in Gap. So that's not a bad one to keep an eye out for, guys. It's a apparel play here that is actually making a move. I actually like it there. Just recovered 22.50. That would be kind of my risk on the swing trade. I might actually open a swing on that, but I don't know if I have enough to keep it rocking and rolling today. That much. I'd have to take like a smaller one and just let it kind of try to fill that gap. It's a $5 gap. So it's not like it's a small one.
Yeah, on something that's
GAP. It's just beautiful.
Speaking that, like, it's a pretty boring, right? Established, easy to predict revenues type company. So that's an interesting that it gaps that much as well. So
yeah, and some strong action today on volume. Right. Yeah. So I like the hourly chart too. The hourly chart had a nice like trend line break off of the 2270s, and it went straight to 23s. It didn't slow down there. And I think that's an important look here on the daily. When you got all those bottomings around the moving averages, all moving averages below, and now you're making a top end Bollinger Band. You got a nice contraction right before this. Now Bollinger Band's looking like they're expanding into the move. Things you want to see, guys. All right, just got a bottoming on that dust. I'm going to take a little bit here, guys. I took 300 there. If it goes back below 25, I might add another 200. Taking a shot on Duster. Even though I like that, right?
Officially in summer trading. Yeah, that's right. Usually it's July 4th to Labor Day. That's the way people look at it for summer trading. So again, summer trading just generally means things die out a little bit quicker. The afternoons are generally just really, really choppy. So make sure you're focused, you're making your money, and you're walking away, right? It's very important not to
Gap.
Not to give that up.
Strong move. It's a strong move from Gap today. Like ANF, a lot of like apparel, even Lulu to come back. I know that Lulu had that scare last week.
Yes, did it ever? Because it knew I took one discretionary trade.
That's what happens, my friend. It's just how it goes. It's just also Lulu's a fast mover, guys. You got to be careful with Lulu. How's Nike doing today? They're still hanging on. Still hanging on. Summer trading, baby. Isn't it exciting?
Well, that's the thing.
NBIO is the penny stock of the day. That thing's continuing to rip. I talked about it right out the gates, but it ripped right before the gates. Just continue going higher.
Yeah, that thing's nuts.
All right, Dust, come on. Let's go gold down, baby. Gold down. So that would be like an AU short. GLD to come down here. Let's see what happens. How is GLD doing today? Not bad. Not bad. We'll see what happens there. All right, guys. SoFi right back up there looking around. XYZ still doesn't look too bad. It's trying to hang on to that bottoming that it did this morning, but it's far from it. It's hard to buy it here. That's the hard part. Sometimes you got to hold off that bottom, but that was a nice little bottom right there. So we'll see what happens there. SPY.
Weird. Was there news on that? XYZ?
On that XYZ? No, I don't think it
Yeah.
was. I think it was just a quick dip out the gates there. It was a good dip if you got it. I
Yeah,
mean,
nothing.
right by
Well,
the
that-
daily lows, right? Like,
And that's
it's
just
not a
kind of
bad
this.
one.
That's the setup, right? So that's
Yeah,
what we
that's
have
the
to.
setup. That's the setup.
Because yeah, I see a
drop.
world where we spend as a group, as a chat, we spend the morning
Just looking for bottoming.
looking for ones that have undercut their pre-market lows, and we're just adding them to an indicator, and then those are trading them as well, right?
Yeah, add them to that watch list, and then if it gets
just-
back through the VWAP, it takes the trade.
It just takes a trade for you, puts a stop the low of the day, and you just build
Yeah.
this little long short portfolio in the morning. Check on it again right before the close, and away you go. I'm really excited for it. I think it'll be a good
Qs look like they're
addition
getting hit
strategy.
a little bit here. So that's actually something that I'm just watching here. It seems like the Qs can't get back above a level right now and it's fighting around like the 553, 554 level. It's getting
Yeah.
back there and just getting hit. So now it's going right back to the 553s. It's going to try to maybe take it out. We'll see if it takes it out. There's been 2 wicks already through this 553s. So let's see if we can get some more buying to come up here. Dust, I might step up to the plate now. It's bottomed out 2 or 3 times around 25. So now on Dust, I'm ready to go for it and take the shot for success. I don't know why my thing's not scrolling to the
Keep scrolling
current
back when
action.
you.
Oh, there
Yeah.
it is. I was looking for the little button. They made it smaller and they put it over here for me. And it used to be like right here. So I'm like, yo, where the heck is the little button to slide through?
Weird for TC2000 to get updates like that. Like, it's such a established system. It's been around for so long that you'd think
It's
they'd
a
have everything
boomer
kind of worked
system.
out.
Let's be honest.
I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice.
No, I'm not nice to them, man. They don't even like me, dude. I'm like, how do you guys not like me? I give you guys probably as much advertising on your charts as possible. I don't see anybody else throwing up TC 2000 charts, but
The only other one I know is Brian Shannon, and he's just kind of. I've asked him about it. I remember in person. He's like, "Why do you use TC?" And he's like, "Just because I know how." I know how. It's
yeah.
literally because he's a boomer. He's like, "I just won't."
And
I'm like, "Are you gonna change?" Like, no, I'm just
I think this helped too. I think they were the first to have what?
the VWAP.
Anchored
Yeah.
VWAP by Alpha Trends. And it says it
Yeah.
right there. When you go onto it, the little anchor, it literally tells you it right there that it's by Alpha Trends.
Yeah, I just asked him. I said, "Okay, now that everyone has anchored VWAP, now that you've popularized it enough," and he's like, "No, I just can't." It's just one. It's like a muscle memory thing, right? Which makes sense. You've got a style and a system that works for you. You
They're
just
also
come in every
pretty.
day, do the
I will
same-
say they're very
same thing.
pretty. I think to me, they're pretty. They're fast. And
That's
I
all
think
you
that's
need, right? You don't need them fancy. They just need to give you the data and give you the indicators and whatever you need, and
Yeah.
away you go.
Yeah, a lot of the logarithms and styles like that and things that they're like including, I think is a big plus too, right? Those are the things you want to be looking for. I think TC, it's a little expensive if you want to use the real-time scanner. So I use kind of the medium like package, right? Where it gives me, I have to hit the refresh on some of my scanners. But I mean,
You're here anyway, right?
you know what I mean? I can just do that. I can hit a refresh button, guys. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not that slow or can't be hitting the refresh button. But hey, that's just how
Look
it
at
goes.
the again, if you ever want to know why we're waffling on
MBIO,
about
man.
stuff,
Holy moly.
it's because of this. This is the daily chart right here of the SPY. Not only have we not gone anywhere,
SoFi ripping, guys. That's a nice one. That's a nice rip there.
we are there inside yesterday's range and just making a little bit of a doji, which just means we are right at the entry price. So at some point, we have to get some sort of movement from that entry price. I didn't even look to see if there's anything. I don't think there's anything we care about. No. No, it's wrong date.
Well,
Nothing. Absolutely nothing today.
Seeing that MBIO break 6, that was a great run there. That Mustang Biotech, that's been a big run of the day. Up now almost 400% on that name.
Oil up, Tack is saying. Yeah, interesting. Nice
Oil
rip
up is
off
a
the
real interesting one because, essentially what the big beautiful bill did is it's going to make oil a little try to bring the prices down. They
yeah.
made like leasing and stuff like that cheaper for different moves. XYZ ripping here, guys, ripping. I think that's a good one there, man. I like this one, man. I've been talking about block, and I started to see kind of more and more of the retail crowd really looking at block. PayPal's been actually doing better, so keep your eyes on PayPal. And I'm just watching these names. SoFi is in, of course, the financial space, but it's also been making mentions of crypto, more crypto mentions. That's what you want to be seeing from brokerages right now. And SoFi is hot, hot, hot. Now breaking 19 and continuing. I mentioned this morning how it ripped from 18 to 1850s. It was already a nice little move there. Now up there towards 19. SoFi continuing hot, hot, hot.
Yeah, we really need to get to work on that pattern. That just would have been the easiest thing in the world, right? Your buys on this 2-minute candle right here.
Oh,
You know right where you're wrong.
It was
getting
pretty.
up the 2-day VWAP, right? If it gets,
pretty.
it looks like a very, very nice pattern. The Qs,
Yeah.
maybe we're at the high end of the range. Are they going to break out of the base here to the upside? I don't know, but looking okay. Again, I still have my TQQQ position. It's fully automated, fully hands off. So
look at the PayPal move too. Just it's on the whole industry right now. It just This one did it right before the open though. That's the only problem. It did it right at 928, bottomed out, boom, right back up. That's what you want to see also when where it almost feels like it doesn't want to come back down at all.
Yes, even when the Qs were threatening to roll over and challenge lows, these things were just holding like really high up against their base. So, great look. And the Qs now have just broken today's high. I'm able to keep a close watch on those because I've got the positions open. It
so
feels
rocking and rolling, man. Coin doing well today also.
It feels good. I'll tell you guys, it feels good. Just fully hands off. So, and also means I'll be able to spend more time scanning around for you guys and seeing what's going on here in the overall market. If we take just a quick look at the heat map, you can see mostly gray, just showing that there's not a lot up, there's not a lot down. We have the glaring red of Tesla down 7%. Other than that, we are just kind of in that gray zone, and gray meaning I think it's a 0.5%, within 0.5% of yesterday's range. So most stocks, and this is the whole Russell 3000, which is 97% of the tradable universe. You have to be a real junk stock to not be in the Russell 3000, and they're not moving, right? There's nothing really up huge. There's nothing really down huge. So this is why the market's just kind of chilling out the way it is too. So we need some event to start getting things going or getting things trending in some way. I'm still in the camp that we need a pullback at this point, but who knows, right? The Qs got through the prior day low. The SPY did not. SPY held prior day's low in that little pullback.
Looking around out there, seeing what I'm seeing recover. ETHU still hasn't recovered the VWAP. It touched it, came back, kind of double bottomed around the 5740s. Interesting on that ETHU. Definitely looking at that. MSTR recovering back through 405. So could see some Bitcoin action start to come into play.
Yeah, kind of looking a lot like the Qs here if you take the opening area. Oh, I just got triggered in some Weeble. Just broke.
Weeble.
Took, which makes sense because you were saying a lot of the crypto stuff look moving, and I think Weeble's going to kind of be in that camp with Robinhood where they've got that crypto exposure. So got that trade. Again, the goal is to not do anything. The target from VWAP to VWAP here. So I have that. I had this JSPR, but the problem is I need to just put something in the indicator that needs some sort of separation, I think, from the entry point to the VWAP to take a trigger. Should be an easy easy thing to program in. But yeah, fully systematic there with that as well. So basically, I've got my TQQQ and Webull are the two big trades I got on there.
All right, still got dust here, guys. I'm averaged at 24.97. I'm literally like on the risk spot right here. Can risk on 24.76. It's about 104. Not going to risk more than that. Looking for this to start coming back here on Duster. I'll show you guys the Duster right now. You guys see the position in at the bottom. Looking to see if it's going to bottom out here on a trend line approach. So it'd just be like kind of it recovered the support this morning. It started to break out above the 25. Now looking to see if it can just hold and then get back above 25, really. That's what it's all about.
And just going through, taking a look. Tesla hitting new lows. Q's pulling back slightly. It would be hilarious if we just broke today's high by those couple cents and then pulled right back. That would just be very funny to me.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing is, we're a little bit on the sideline right now with all this deal talk and tariff talk. So we might see some slowdown action, just slow down, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be a speed up, right, to the upside of the whole time. SY doing well today in the small caps. I'm just running through my small cap scanner there. That's doing pretty decent there. Then NBIO started to come back down. That ARTL, I think it's been down the whole time. Yeah, it's been down the whole time. I don't think it's dead. I just think it hasn't gotten the lift again. And so just keep an eye on if it gets a lift back above like 22s. Right now it's hanging out in the buy zone. I had these buy zones area, but I'm not going to take the shot there just because at the end of the day, I'm already 2 trades in the red. If I get back into the green, then maybe I can take a look at this. But you can see how it's bottoming out right here. And all it needs is one big candle through the 23.
Yeah.
So I'll just sit on the sideline on that. I'm just keeping an eye on it. All right. Really close to getting out of this dust. It's kind of like wicking down here right now. It's about to just stop me out. If it doesn't come green candle here on this 1 minute. Come on.
Yeah, well, that's a good short on Tesla. That the fact that the
Tesla.
Qs are holding as well as they are and are closer to the high of the day than the low, and Tesla's doing that, I think that's really interesting. If Tesla even just stopped going down here at that point, yeah, I think it means that we could get a nice little bounce here on the Qs, unless Tesla's going to kind of pull everything down with us, right?
Meta holding things up. XYZ continuing, man. Should have just taken that swing off that 68.60s. I was just more, it was a far risk for me, but it still was a nice looking setup there. XYZ was on the playbook. It's continuing right back to the upside. Good look there. There's ETHU, man. I should have taken this one too, man. The truth is this was a setup too. There it is. 58.40s now, starting to push higher. Could start seeing some Ethereum names start to push on that. That BMNR might even get a little strong off of that. We'll see what happens on that name. But yeah, definitely got a little bit of some action on that. We'll see if Clean Spark gets going now. Does Mara get going? You can keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Ethereum, just the token, underlying token that's about to go green on the day. Solana did go green on the day, and Bitcoin is still lagging a little bit, but so just be careful, right? You look at your Bitcoin miners versus what is that BMNR thing? That's an Ethereum play, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an Ethereum play, but it doesn't move with Ethereum, guys. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
not
really
yet.
necessarily watch that as a play just yet.
Give it 6 months, and then it'll probably start to move with it. It's got to work out all the craziness that happened first.
There's just ETH, right? Don't have to go with that one, or you can look at like maybe the Van X, ETHV,
Ripple. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, Ripple looks really nice here.
Ripple.
Attack was saying.
There you go.
There's the Ripple chart could be breaking out 22.35. Big area there. Yeah, you mentioned there's XXRP, which is a 2x leveraged Ripple ETF.
What about SALT? I don't even know what the hell this is. Volatility shares in 2x of Solana ETF.
SOLT.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. It looks interesting.
2x Solana, because yeah, Solana was stronger than Ethereum and stronger than Bitcoin today. So there's some. I didn't even know there was a Solana ETF, let alone a 2x Solana ETF.
I didn't know
Question:
either, bro.
when's the Farcoin ETF? That's just the real question. But yeah, that's the beauty. Again, this is why
Just got the
you
hit
know
there, guys. Just got the hit on that Duster. Duster. I'm out.
the this is why I'm really interested in why I think we trade the equity market as opposed to a lot of the trading the forex markets or even the crypto markets really directly. I have some money in the crypto markets, but at this point, if you're bullish Solana, you get 2 times your money, and your money stays in a registered broker that is like what is it for you, FDIC insured and all that kind of stuff. You can get that leverage on Solana by doing something like this. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, so why not just keep all your money in one place? I didn't know that this was a thing, but now XXRP or Ripple, a Ripple ETF, and another one. So that's interesting.
Oh,
Q's leaking just a bit here.
that XYZ is gonna be a tough one. It's continuing to push. I'm all out for the day, guys. That's strike 3 for me today. So I gotta stick to my rules there. 3 strikes and you're out.
Got to do it, right? Even if you've got a 90% win rate, you're going to get hit 3 times
Yep.
very often. Just the way it works.
That's how it goes.
So no,
Gap
that's
continuing, and that did really well. It did pull back for a second there, and it's just pushing right back through the 23s. This gap looks awesome. Pun intended. I think this looks awesome right here.
as soon as I am done with this testing, Mitch, we are going to build out, and we'll do it live. I think that'd be really cool content. Build out this strategy for you. I want you in a world where you're just adding these things to a list all day, and they're
Yeah,
just.
man. I think that's what
I
it
think
is.
you
A
go to
lot of
sleep.
times I have a tendency of watching them, right? It's sometimes hard to come at them and really kind of keep my eye on all the names, right? That's why I put the playlist out there for you guys also to kind of catch with some of these names. And I'll add some extra bonus, right? Urban was another one, A&F. Were some that I'm watching in the space that have been hot. Of course, Urban, good earnings. That's pulled back there. A&F still looking decent there on that one. I still think that one can hit that 105. So that's an interesting name there.
So then all you'd have to do is hit that button, and there you go. So then it would auto trade A&F for you, right? It's the
things like that, right?
it's the semi self-driving, right? That's the equivalent of what it is that we're trying to do, where we're picking the symbols to go and connect to whatever indicator, and they're happening. Q's there,
and you can just use
challenging
dailies,
lows.
right? That's the fun part. You can do this while the market's not open, right? You can just use the dailies, really distinguish a watch list to watch for certain stocks, and then tell it to pick from that watch list, not necessarily just everything in the market, because that's the hard part too, right? When you're deciding a system, how am I going to create a criteria that keeps it to a certain amount of names, right?
Yeah, so this XYZ, right? All you would do is you'd spend that first little bit in the morning looking for candles like this, right? Look for things that have broken the pre-market low and now they're above them. And then you just kind of systematically adding those to a list. And when they trigger, they trigger. Because what I do, like my Webull trade, right? I just go through and I'm scanning here on TradingView, which is very simple. Just what's gapping up or gapping down the most. And I saw that Webull, and I also just do the most volume in the pre-market, and Webull was there. So I just added it to the list in the morning, and then that green arrow, I didn't have to do anything, and it triggered. And then again, I can't stress enough the emotional, as somebody who is an emotional trader, the removal of those emotions is just so huge with systematic trading. Like I just heard a little beep, so I think I'm long Tesla. And I have the stop loss is in, the profit target is in. I did TSLL because the leverage on it. And if it stops out, great. If it doesn't, great. And the last thing that I think is very, very impactful when it comes to systematic trading is you could imagine instead of taking 3 or 4 trades a day, if you have an edge and you take 200 trades a day or 100 trades a day. Each individual trade, and that's probably a bit crazy, but each individual trade is going to mean way less to you. And that's what I go for when I go for systematic trading. Is I want to take as small, tiny positions. Like I think I'm going to take the $25,000 account to start with, and the risk per day is like $500. I'm going to risk like $20 on any single trade, but take 20, 30 trades a day. And just by repeating that, then all of a sudden, no one trade is impactful for you at all, right? You're just spreading it out across many occurrences. And the more, just statistically, the more occurrences you spread it out on, the closer you're going to get to your statistical average where it's happened. But I'm excited. As soon as it's done, I know I mentioned this before, but I'll do it again. I'm going to do an open journal where everyone can read. I'm going to document everything, go the whole 9 yards. Hoping, might take a couple tries, but I'm hoping to completely hands off past this account. I think will be really cool. I'm going to do a video series on my channel too. I think it'll be super fun.
Yeah, really good names. Again, SBet run again. That's not a bad one to watch there. That's definitely a one to keep an eye out for. That one's your Ethereum bet too. So I think that one's a better Ethereum bet than your BMNR, at least attaching like the actual price action of Ethereum and looking at SBet. But we'll see if SBet can continue. Right now, it's in a nice kind of a descending triangle here. Can it break back above 15? That's the one to watch. Solana.
So yeah, Solana's the strongest of the group right now anyway. And just looking at these intraday candles.
I like that 15-minute if it comes back into the 14 spot.
Ethereum here is well off its lows for the day, trying to get green. And then we have Bitcoin that's actually lagging us here. So yeah, Bitcoin's doing a little bit of a lag on top of that. So yeah, Solana doing better than the rest, at least on an intraday basis, is really interesting to me because Solana is like your ultimate risk on. Solana is only for like silly memes and things like that. And the fact that it's doing the best, I think, is definitely something to keep an eye on, definitely something to watch, because if Bitcoin is doing better, right, you could do the whole digital gold narrative, and I think that's fine. With Solana doing better, that feels a little bit of risk on, but the Qs just bled there again, back to lows, but a big bottoming tail here. So it seems like at this area there is some amount of buying that's happening, some amount of aggressive buying that's going on. So that's interesting. Someone's saying APLD got smacked for 10% off the open. I don't know. Let's see if there's any news. Nope. It could just be a large sell order, right? Sometimes there's somebody out there. This thing has gone from $3 to at $9, so it's kind of tripled in a short period of time. Doesn't surprise me at all if we have a little bit of a some sort of correction or push there or something. I like kind of the look of it on the daily chart if this bottoming tail holds, because it undercut a pretty clear level of support around 950, and then buyers came in from there. But yeah, I don't see any news there at all.
XYZ continues, man. That wasn't a bad one at all.
So yeah, we will, now that we have this somewhat sorted, we'll start to play, and we'll just get that as an automated system soon. And then how many can we put on top of each other, automated systems, over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, APLD was an interesting. We were watching for it last week to see if it would get above towards 11, and it just kept fighting. I think there was somebody kind of getting short in that area. Definitely getting hit hard there this morning. Needs to get back above 11 at some point. Maybe that can get above it. Trimmed MBIO. There you go, Talk. Take some of that cash and run. Nothing wrong with that. Woof.
Oh, there's the JSPR.
Yeah, that Jasper got destroyed, man.
Boom. So that was just exited
took it to
there.
the long.
Yeah, so you can see the green
Interesting
arrows
one.
happening through here. So just VWAP
Mhm.
to VWAP. It
Yeah.
had the target up here where the VWAP was when it initially entered. So that's why I just got it right there at 304, 305. A nice little move on that. So again, that feels good just to hear the little boop and then look down and say, oh, what happened?
Yeah,
It's
this is
going to
gonna
be good when
be
it's profit.
these are one of those days, guys, where I get a little frustrated, of course, because I'm just not trading also what I'm kind of like putting out there too. Because just look at the 3 picks on the playbook this morning, XYZ, up good, same strategy, right? Picard, same strategy on the playbook, literally to the key. And ANF did the strategy, but he kind of held it to the key at the 90. I'd like to see a little bit of a bigger cut down through that 90. But it wasn't a bad look
But
either, right?
again, the beauty of this, like I'm going to get you there. You're going to be a systems trader soon. Is that all of the one that I built with the VWAP to VWAP fade and all that stuff? That's going to
Yeah.
be way harder than the one we're going to build for you. The only question we need to answer is profit target on it, because we
Yeah.
know the entry is going to be back through VWAP, and we know the stop loss is going to be the low of the day. And maybe this is what I want to talk about a lot with people too, is that a lot of people think like systems trade is like a binary thing, but it's a spectrum. Like maybe for someone like Mitch, he picks the securities. Well, that's not systematic. He's using his knowledge and his eyes to pick the securities, but he's
Yeah.
having it put in the entry and the stop loss, which
Yeah.
is fine. That's systematic. And then he's deciding where to take profits, and that's not system. So it's like you don't have to systemize the whole thing. I do, but you could
Systemize
just
the
pick
area that
areas.
maybe is your
Yeah,
weakness,
like
right? Let's just
exactly.
be
So
honest, right?
if you're not good at watching everything, which I don't think any human is, and
Yeah.
entering everything the second it occurs, well, you systemize that part. Or some people I know do the complete opposite. They enter the trades automatically, and they have the system put out a profit target and a stop loss and all that, and they
It's
systemize the
interesting.
exit. So it's just where along the trade of a trade, all the things that have to go into a trade. What do you get rid of from there, right? So
Yeah. And looks like Taka was able to find MBIO with our mention earlier, and that's what it's about, guys. Like always, the only thing we can do is also just tell you guys what flavor of ice cream is out there for you guys. You guys let me know if you guys like that flavor or not, right? And then you take the shot and we'll see what happens. And I also like how Talk said, you know what, that thing ain't moving. I've gotten some money. It's time to fly. and
take
and
your
and
cash, right?
especially with penny stocks, guys, you got to remember it's about like staying hot. How long will it stay hot? There's times where it's going to stay hot for a long time, and there's other times where it's just like a big boom, and you got to take your money and run. So determining profit is some things that we're just talking about right now. Those types of things you have to do a little bit quicker in the penny stock game, I think, than let's say in a swing trade
Yes.
where you can be a little bit more kind of like, all right, well, I'm just going to hold to this moving average. It's a little bit away from the price action. If you move to the price action, right? Let's say like right now in MBIO, if I'm risking all the way to the 9 EMA, I'm giving up 23% of my gains. That
Mhm.
might be too much of your gains to give up, right? On a swing trade, it would be a little bit different, right? And so those are the types of things that are very important when you're playing these small caps that I think small cap traders need to very quickly grasp and also be able to get in, get out, take the money, run, and celebrate for another day, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, the cues,
Struggling,
right?
man, struggling. It
Hit
looks like it's
VWAP,
going to
which
be that
is
bleeding type of day. But another thing that I saw out the gates is I didn't see the defensive names really getting picked up. So it's interesting that it's such a mixed market right now, and I can
right.
see that
And
in my sectors. Um, it's definitely a leak, but it's not fast. When it's not
no,
fast, they can recover it fast. So that's the one thing you got to be a little bit careful of, right? You open up two big shorts right now, and all of a sudden it just starts to rip and rock again. So I think it's
but
going to be an interesting day for sure.
we need a pullback at some point, right? And it's too much, too crazy. Right? We need to chill out here at some point in the market. You would imagine. Again, the SPY still has yet to break the low of a prior day, going on day 9 of this. I don't know how many days in a row is the record, but we've got to be close to it. That might be an interesting experiment too. Is just go look at
Yeah.
how many days in a row have we not been able to take out a prior low? Because at some point, right, we've
Just
got to
go.
be there.
I think what we're seeing is right now rotation, especially to consumer cyclical names, and that's what's holding up the market today and why we're not dropping as fast. We would be dropping if these names weren't strong. So if you look at those types of names, like even a name here for you, Goose, GOOS,
Oh,
Canada Goose Holdings. Look at that
yeah.
pushing higher. Yeah, that it does not look bad at all, guys. Consumer facing stocks are starting to do better here, guys.
Wow. Yeah, that's a nice trend.
VFC, another one. I think even Tuna had mentioned that one. VFC in apparel, definitely starting to come back, doing well. You got Ralph Lauren doing well. These apparel names are doing really well. This is another thing that I wanted to look at was, okay, would lodging take off? Would Hilton take off? Those types of
Ooh,
names. That's actually
that
done really, really well, and I think it can continue. I like Wyndham, WH right here. Of course,
I
sometimes I don't
really
go just for the leader. I look for the charts and try to find one. What do you like here?
I really like the look of that Ralph Lauren. I didn't
At
even I don't
Ralph
know.
Lauren. There you go.
It's one of those I didn't even know these guys still existed, but just a really nice looking kind of cup and handle
Why you think
play
Gap?
at highs
Why you
here.
think Gap's at play, right? Gap, Ralph Lauren, they run in the same boat.
Yeah, but this Ralph Lauren is this all-time highs? Yeah, at all-time highs. And
Yep.
I love stocks at all-time highs. I think the easiest trade in the world to make is
Yeah.
just buying stocks as they rip through all-time highs.
So the reason why I brought these up, right, is very important, right? So I look for these little themes, right? And I feel like this is the edge that I can give you guys, right? Like sometimes I can actually give you stuff that you yourself could gain, right? So when Nike's report came out, you have to think about it not in Nike. How does this make the view on consumer spending change or not change? In the case, we were going towards all-time high. We weren't necessarily there just yet. But that told me what you need to look at all the bear thesis and get ready to knock some of that down because we know how it works. You hit all-time high, no one talks bearish anymore. And so what you look for, what are the theses out there that is still remaining that could flip? It was the consumer spending outlook, the spending that we're going in the recession, that people are not spending. Well, really quickly, what are we seeing in retail stocks? A quick adjustment of that mentality, right? And then now you look at the XRT to give you that sign. Is this really something that's going to come into play? And I think that's what we're seeing even today. It's continuing since that rip on last week, and we're having a strong move in the XRT. So with that being said, there's going to be some names that go higher, and you want to have some rotations going to areas that get affected when we go down, which are the cyclical names, right? Those are the names that could be interest sensitive, especially as we're starting to look at rate cuts and things like that. We're also going to summer months and into fall, where these stocks have a tendency of doing better, right? As we get towards the back to school trade, as we have like today, we have like a prime days. So we're going to have this big push to buy items. Hey, not a bad one to take a look at, right? And it doesn't have to be A and F, right? That's the fun part. That's why I try to give you guys multiple names and work backwards always, right?
Yeah,
Start from
someone was
the
asking here
sectors
about
and industries. What you
about
got?
silver.
Silver,
Just a
yeah.
question from the chat.
Silver's been pulling
Uh,
back. How's it doing now?
I love it. Right, it's just full disclosure. I own a bunch of silver. I just think if there's going to be, so this is PSLV, but if you just look at what SI for the silver futures, to get back to these prior highs, it still has room to run. And then if you look at that versus like gold futures, what happened with gold when it finally broke these prior highs, had this epic run in it. So yeah, I like silver, but I'm just being biased here.
Yeah, it's a good play. I think it's a less risk on type of play, more like run with the trend type of play. So if you're looking for that style of play, it's there, right? It's definitely there.
And if you're playing commodities, trend following
The name of the game,
amazingly
right? It's the name of the game in the commodity space, right? I don't know any
always like to bring
palladium
up
names. I don't know if there's any palladium names that actually been going up. But we've been seeing that move, right? Ultimate breakout. Cocoa, maybe Hershey's.
Well, and this is why I always like to give an example. This is how commodities move, right? So this is from, you could go as far back as saying 2016 all the way to 2023 did absolutely nothing. And this is how commodities work. They do absolutely nothing, and then all of a sudden they do something like this, where cocoa from 2023 up to 2025 like tripled in value. And it's the same with a lot of, right? Gold is another way just to look at this, right? If you look at gold and we go to like a weekly chart, this was 2011 until 2023. Huge, like nothing for incredibly long periods of time, and then it goes. So that's why when I look at something like silver, I'm looking for this slow money as well. Silver did nothing here from 2020 until 2024, and then I started to buy it kind of early 2025 for it to break out as well. So if you're playing commodities, you just got to do a little different. Equities are a little bit more mean reverting, things like that. Commodities, you gotta get a hold of a trend. You got to pick a long term, like a 50-day moving average or something like that, and just walk away. No, most of the times you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to grab like a coca that just triples and you're happy. Palladium, just to mention, yeah, I had some platinum. I'm long some platinum from right here, and these things will kind of move together. And same thing, I've got like a 50-day moving average on platinum, and I just won't even look at it until my system goes, hey, close below the 50-day moving average, because these aren't stocks. The platinum's not going to report earnings, and it's going to gap up 50% one day, and you take your profits. You just got to let the commodity work. It's a different beast, but I think this, in conjunction with trading equities, is a good way to do it. I don't think I'd have the patience to only trade commodities, because then you're spending years of your life sitting in cash, not doing anything, waiting for one of these breakouts to occur. That would kind of kill me. But I think on top of everything else we do, doing something like commodity trading on top of it, I think is good. The people who avoid commodities entirely, I think that's not really the move.
Starting to see XLP starting to rise a little bit there. So some adjustments maybe towards some defensive names here, and it's right on the hourly support. So it makes sense if the Qs really do leak out here, the SPY starts to leak a little bit more, that we pick up some defensive names as a way to adjust, right? Financials still red, coming down. Basic materials pulled back lately. Even the cyclicals red. What's green as of late, just starting to bounce, is some technology names. So look for leading names there to see if maybe they can hold, and some bigger cap names. I know Meta was doing well today, but the rest of them were not. Seeing Nvidia up just slightly. So maybe Nvidia can start playing a little bit of a push here to kind of lead the pack. So maybe Nvidia leading the pack there. I know Meta's kind of really doing well. That's the one that's leading and holding up a lot of the action. So you want to see the strength continue there. But Meta really strong right now, and other names continuing to start to play a little catch up.
And nice break. Qs looking bullish. They look bearish. They look bullish. They look bearish. They just can't make up their mind. So this is why, again, you notice us kind of waffle on about a bunch of stuff today, and you have to try to mentally divert yourself from taking too many trades on a day like this, where we have not really broken our opening range at all. We are not bullish. We are not bearish. We are just chopping sideways. And the worst thing you can do on days like this is to just get too aggressive on either side of those things. It just ends up not being the tickets, not being what you want to see. You want to maybe take a shot here or there. If they work, great. If they don't work, fine. And then just sit out and wait for the market to give you some evidence that there is going to be a move in some direction that could be profitable, and then go from there, right? So just kind of chill out is the main thing. Yeah, coffee, Safford. Yeah, well, that's what Uranium's another good example. Just go back to the commodity talk, right? So I'm long uranium, I'm long NLR, I'm long SMR, a bunch of these uranium names, but it's same kind of thing, right? Uranium just chopped sideways from 2021 to late 2025 and then broke out again. And it's the way commodities work. It's why, a lot of old school like turtle trader, trend follower guys still go in the commodity space, because their whole philosophy is, I'm going to buy X period high, I'm going to buy or short X period low. And while it's trading within ranges, I'm just not going to do anything. So they have orders set out and they just come in every day and look to see if those are filled. So someone's like BTBT. Bit Digital.
Man, Elon coming back, and I didn't even notice that he had put that Jeffrey Epstein mention on the counter. Yeah, he's coming right back at Trump with that Epstein mention. Yeah, that's how you really come after Trump. I think Trump knows something maybe that doesn't want out. Let's just say that much. Any thoughts on BTBT? Currently long.
Yeah,
All
got
right,
it up
we can
here.
take a
Well,
look. It's not a bad name to be in. It's the miners, right? What you want to hear? Blockchain talk, AI infrastructure talk. Let's see the recent talk in BTBT Digital. Let's see. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to look into their recent news catalyst, things like that, right?
Amassing Ether Treasury. So they're doing the thing. They're doing the thing that everyone's doing. So
the thing, 100,000 K of Ether. Exit Bitcoin in major treasury shift. So it's exiting the Bitcoin. So it sold 280. It cashed out 280 Bitcoin to acquire the Ethereum. And it raised also 172 million through a public offering. So now it brings its Ethereum holdings to approximately 100,603 Ethereum. Let's go. We got a pass account. Boom, boom,
congratulations, bud.
What would be that name? Is that assignment?
Yeah.
All right. Well, shout out to you, my
His
friend.
assignment was to pass the
Congratulations.
account.
That assignment was the pass, and you, my friend, deserve a little bit of some money rain here. So you get the money rain today, my friend. You're going away with your own little money bag. Put that on your shoulder. Take that funded account with you, my friend, and go make that cash, guys, because we'll be rooting on for you. Congratulations indeed, my friend. Which account was it? Let us know in the chat.
And
always
just
rooting for you guys.
And a nice tip, just right, start slow, right? Take a deep breath, right? Trade with a half or a third or a quarter of the size you're planning on doing it, right?
Yeah, just realize that, especially if you have the flex, right? If you don't have the max and you don't have a time limit and things like that are affecting you, realize now you're funded. Now it's all about what? Slowing things down and staying in the game, right? Congratulations, my friend. Get after it. You know what you're doing now. Another thing is, remember, it's so important to build that early cushion, right?
Yeah.
So focusing the first week and really kind of honing in on some of your top plays, right? Not trying to play C plays, really looking for that A+ styles of play is going to be very important, because those first couple of trades, especially going into the green, giving you that nice little cushion on the account, really puts a big lift on you. When you can close that first real funded account trade in the green, you just can really kind of breathe and relax, right? So, hey, wish you the best of luck, guys. And like always, all you guys out there in your evals, if you guys want us to keep you accountable, to keep you pushing forward, let us know. We're here to help too. Right. I think it's so important sometimes, like I did, right? You guys heard me go strike 3. I'm out. I'm done. Well, if you guys see me trading a whole bunch and telling you I'm long this thing, short this thing, well, then you guys can go and hit me up in the chat and be like, yo, Mitch, whatever happened to stop trading? Right. Well, we can all help each other out. Right. We can all be kind of our own kind of accountability partners, and helping each other out,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it's important.
Yeah.
Look for someone out there that you can really talk to about trading. Sometimes I feel like trading can be a very lonely game, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, guys.
Well, especially when you're my wife and you're sick of hearing about it for the last 10 years, it's good to
Right?
find other
You know what I
traders
mean?
that
Yeah, you
actually
don't go.
want to hear.
Yeah, I don't even talk to my wife anymore about the trading
No.
because she don't want to hear it, man. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important, man. So finding people that can support you too and actually be there, like positive, right? Trying to make a positive impact on your trading, right? Is very important, right? Find traders like that, especially also to go through at times of struggle. We all get at times in struggles, and I feel like we start like getting this inner conflict in our mind, and we're just talking in ourselves and trying to cycle through the information, when really there's nothing better than actually putting the information on paper, looking at the data, bringing somebody else in that can have an objective mindset, and then really look at you and be like, hey dude, you're just doing this one thing wrong. Like, you're not seeing it, but you're just doing this one thing wrong, and you need to focus on that one thing. It seems like everywhere else you're doing it right. You're just getting lost here. And a lot of times we can be blind to those moments as traders because we're in the action. We're in the actual execution part, and we need somebody like an execution partner, an accountability partner, to keep us accountable on our own actions. I think
Yeah.
it's important in all aspects, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a trader, whether you're trying to do anything in life, try to find a support group that can really help you get to that next level.
Yeah, and just know that emotions are going to be a little different in the real world, right? In the funded account as opposed to the eval account. So just make sure you're preempting, like Mitch was saying, all the emotional stuff kind of the best you can, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a part of the game. There's going to be times where it is emotional. Understand that, right? And I think that as you can do that, you'll find other ways to kind of get through it and keep playing the game, man. All right, guys, we'll see what happens out there. But BT definitely with that news, that was an interesting one. And more stocks going for Ethereum. I think that's another thing about maybe targeting it, as it's the lag kind of coin, right? We'll call it the lag coin, because out of the major coins, it's been the one that hasn't really taken off as much, right? Lately, it's had a decent sized move, but
range bound and never got to
never still has gotten to the highs, right?
that 2021 high is almost 5,000, and it stopped at 4K and then just reversed. So really underperforming there. Even Solana on this last move broke that high even just for a second before coming down. So the weakest of the bunch for sure in Ethereum. So if it starts to turn and catch up, it's got to get to those highs, it's double just to get to prior highs. That's an interesting one, right? That's something you definitely, for myself, when I look at that and say, okay, if we start to see some relative outperformance in Ethereum, which is easy to do, right? You can just do Ethereum over Bitcoin. And if this line starts to kind of turn up, which you can see it did a little bit right here, if this chart starts to break out, that's showing me that, hey, people are picking up Ethereum over Bitcoin en masse. Maybe this trend of Bitcoin being dominant reverses just a little bit. Then you could get Ethereum potentially challenging that all-time high, which again, it's a double. That's a great trade. Anytime you can get a double, that's all you want. So
all right, guys, I'm going to start taking a look into, of course, the big, beautiful bill, guys. I'm going to bring in some trade ideas that I did with AI off of this. And it's all about like trading implications, things that we can use. Some of this will be short-term plays. Some of this will be medium. Some can be in the long term. Some could even be kind of like pairs trade mentality, right? I'll bring some of those into this. I'm just going to talk about it. If you guys want to know more, let me know in the chat. I can also share the link with you guys on the analysis that I took on this. And I didn't just do trade implications. I also looked into how this would affect, let's say, the different classes, right? The low, the middle, the high class. We can talk a little bit about that if you guys want to get into it. Of course, I'm focused on more the trading aspects here, but we could go as far as you guys want. I wanted to bring in the conversation. The first area I'd look at is kind of an energy sector rotation outlook, right? So one thing that happened here is, of course, E&P margin compression. So new onshoring and offshore leases and SPR releases boost near-term supply, pushing down the spot oil and gas prices. So in the short term, we should start to see small, high-cost explorers will see margins squeeze the hardest, while integrated majors who refine and transport and market their own productions can offset lower upstream prices with stronger downstream profits. So this is all about kind of playing a little bit of a kind of a balance back and forth, right? You could essentially go underweight or short narrower E&P exposures and overweight long, more diversified energy firms. I would look at this as more of a matter of, hey, so if you're seeing those compressions getting squeezed and margins getting squeezed the hardest, you got to keep an eye out on the E&P areas in the market in oil. So when you're looking into that, you want to go ahead and bring up your energies. And the fun part is there's literally an E&P area, right, where you can just look into those names. So then you look at the high cap names. You're talking like a ConocoPhillips, a COP, a CNQ, and all these names are down today. That could be a sign, like an EOG down today, right? So just bringing in the different style plays there. But this is how you can find different style of playing to play off of this, right? TPL way down, right? And these margins are going to get compressed further. Could see that get hit. And so it also said, what about going for more integrated ones to the upside, right? To just kind of offset and pairs traded, which was XOM or like a Chevron, right? Why is it telling you to do that? And I think that's an important outlook that even the AI is kind of giving me there. It's telling me to do that because the price of oil ebbs and flows, right? It goes ups and downs. So this is the way that you could capture the spread widening between the two cohorts, right? Let's move on from that conversation. I'm going to keep it going. We'll talk some more. You guys can drop some comments in the chat. Michael, you have any conversation you want to add to this, or maybe a talk or comment on it? You can always add to it.
No,
I think it's an interesting one.
So do you think those fading, right? Because you were talking about it should reduce oil prices. Is that just a sell the news? Like they knew what the bill was happening? Because I see, a little run up into it and then a drop. So
exactly, this is a buy the rumor and now it's starting to sell the news, right? And it could fade right back down to those lows. And there's similar path in all of these. What you'd want to watch is I would think is this week's weekly candle, right? Does it go back to the highs? If it goes back to the high, maybe it shakes some of the news. But if you see these go weekly red, that's going to be that sign to really give you the outlook. And with oil, it's more of like it says, it ebbs and flows, right? So really keeping your eyes on oil is hard. Another thing that's impacting is OPEC. OPEC's push to increase production is another thing that could weigh in on these names, right? So you have to, with oil, there's a lot to keep an eye out for, guys. There's people that just focus on oil and that's solely their job. So don't forget that, right? It's a space where there's a lot of experts, and I don't think we're one of those. To what we try to do is we try to stay up with the information and look at the charts to tell us a little bit more. In that space, there's also carbon talk that came in the bill. So that's another thing that you can keep your eyes on. The carbon talk is something to watch for. Carbon credit rollback.
There's a carbon. I thought there was a carbon ETF at some point.
There was a lot of these kind of environmental ETFs and things like that could be going down fast, right? I think that you kind of look at that. And the rollback and cost pass-through is the real focus here. So tighter methane royalties, limit on carbon credits, raise units, cost for pure play green. So pretty much some players in here that were kind of green players were getting a credit because of this, right? And I think you got to continue to watch to see how those react. A lot of the green plays are going to be coming down with this bill. Anything that's really focused on solar, that was really kind of focused on changing the kind of the energy cycle and the way things were relied upon, is changing. Another thing could be looking at just coal players, right? Let's say like a BTU, right? Look how BTU is actually having a little bit of a bounce today, right? This actually helps coal players in the long run continue to burn coal and get energy that way. So maybe we finally start to see a bottoming of BTU, and we can start to see this start to actually come back above the 15. So how do I do that? I'll just set an alert here. I'm not going to set it even at 15. Just really show me. Give me 1548. Start going to 16. We can take a look at BTU. This is how we're going to find ideas, man. And I think it's an interesting way of finding ideas. And we're just taking analysis, right? Another area is, and we'll go to their second area of focus here. We'll keep rolling. I'm going to try my best to keep it fast here, guys. Agricultural uplift and equipment cycle. So one of the things that happened here is a help to farmers. So essentially, this is creating a floor on grains, guaranteeing subsidy backs revenue floors. The bill de-risks farmers' revenues that should encourage them to plant more or higher margin crops and invest in yield boosting equipment. So long grain futures is an idea given by the AI. Looking at stronger demand signals for like wheat and corn, overweight agricultural equipment manufacturers. So that actually plays in a little bit more with also my idea of thinking about like maybe like Pakar and farming, like, farming vehicles. And I've been looking at Pakar as being a play here. Deer, cat looks good, right? It's been hot as hell. Part of this also is the play of the tax on the equipment. Right now, they reinstated this thing in the tax code that allows you to essentially cut the 100% of the equipment cost, the depreciation, that first year versus letting it be over 5 years. So you can depreciate the value and do it like a tax write-off on that. So I think this could actually help these continue to push higher, right? So and then you're seeing mentioned by Talk's talking about like maybe NG, long potash. Hey, there's definitely some plays to be played off of this, right? And it's a big, big bill. It's going to have some major implications over time. XYZ continuing hot today, guys. That was definitely a miss for me today. And the stock that I'll be talking about tomorrow on Trader TV. But of course, you guys get to hear that early, right? You get it earlier than all those guys. But
Sneak
don't
peek.
tell them. Don't tell them. well, I'll tell them tomorrow when it's a lot higher. Okay, we'll look at some other action there. Fiscal deficits and fixed income outlooks. So a curve steepening from higher issuance. So looking into kind of your TLT, your MBS, all the stuff that I probably wouldn't be trading too much on, but where the big money is going to be, right? And so I think we watch to see how the bond reaction is this week. And it doesn't have to be today, but you see the bond reaction today, right? It's been going back down. We'll see if it cuts down that 84. If it cuts that 84, that's when we start to get concerned, right? That's when Trump, that's when the put starts happening, right? So we'll look to see if that keeps dropping there. ADM mentioned in the chat, interesting name. Maybe we're starting to see food distribution going up here and maybe some staple plays continuing in the market. Let me see here. XLP is
and all of this is a good, I think it's all a good lesson too on the when a news event is known, right? That what's in this bill, obviously known in advance. The whole buy the rumor, sell the news event. Because I'm just going through the charts as you're talking about them, and it looks like all of them had, like Deer, for example, right? Ran up over the last 3 days and then is down pretty nice today. So just showing that, they knew all this going in and buying into that hype,
they thought the bill would go through. They thought the bill would go through. Let's buy before the bill comes through, and then we'll sell on Monday, right? We'll
Yeah.
sell
So
towards the open. And I think that that's what we're seeing a lot of there. It's interesting, right?
yeah, so if you want to make sure you're not the guy holding the bag, is just right. Make sure when you're following these things, you understand as soon as the news is out, quite often you get the opposite reaction of what a lot of places will tell you. Like CNBC or something's probably just talking about this stuff right now, but it looks like it was, people were buying into the lead up and then reverse on them. And this is why quite often sometimes people can get trapped because they're just taking action on this now when it's, you're getting the opposite of them. So then what you want to do is you want to see is how long does this sell the news go for it? Is this, does it do this for days or weeks or months, or right, do you get a little bit of a quick overreaction on sell the news and then the trend continues in the way that will benefit them? But yeah, it's very interesting just to see pretty much every one of these. It looks like there was some kind of pre-bet and now people are taking profits off that bet from there.
And of course, you guys can also look into how this will affect credit and consumer lending. I think that's something to look into. Because of this bill, there will be some limits put on the CFBA PB funding, which may reduce enforcement, allowing banks and card issuers to extend looser underwriting and collect more fees. So essentially, it helps the financials, guys. It creates looser policies for credit. Not a good thing in the long run. We don't want to talk about that, but we'll worry about that down the line if it comes down to play. But it does open the door for lending and to come in here and to start helping the banks push even further. I'm going to go back to a comment that I heard very early on in the year from Bank of America's CEO. The way that regulations are right now, we wish there was tighter regulations on the bank. The CEO said that they wish there was tighter regulation on the banks. Why is he saying that? He knows that the policy is getting very loose. That's the only way he could, and this actually creates a bigger door. So I think you continue to watch financials for a big jump here, and that could be a ride to ride itself, right? Look at the way that GS is not making a move that's just normal. It's hasn't shown like that on the chart ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's never shown this type of quick, like parabolic almost move. We got to watch this, guys. We got to watch to see what happens to JP Morgan, see how these banks just take off. And is this opening the door? Yes, for takeoff. Maybe we'll worry about something coming down the line and breaking. But right now, this opens the door, right? SoFi is ripping, right? Keep an eye on SoFi. It could be the next Palantir. Palantir doesn't need to be Palantir forever. There's going to be other names that come in, right? HIMS is not going to be the leading fast mover forever. So keep your eyes on those names. I think it's something to watch in the financial space as we look for these trades to expand. Hey, I think these are all interesting perspectives, of course, that are coming out of this bill. The other stuff could be kind of looking into how this affects the lower, the middle class. It actually it's a little back and forth from what I've heard on the talking heads. But of course, what they put in the bill to help the middle class is the lowering of some taxes and bigger child credits, increase to take-home pay for middle income earners. But you would have to have certain things for it to look better, right? You need to have like a child within, I think, the last couple of years for it to actually even play a factor, right? And so for certain things, it's actually going to increase taxes. But I wouldn't really focus too much about that because consumer spending is going up and holding on. So in my eyes, I don't think this is going to create too big of an effect, at least that we see in the short run, right? You can watch for that, but it's not a big deal. There's further expensing and richer research and development credits reduced after the tax costs of a new plant. So essentially, there's some incentives here for industrials and tech to spend more in research and development. That was included in the bill. That should help tech names continue higher. But it's tech names already invest. They don't really need too much more. But if you can help them,
I'm just looking at that XLI chart. Ooh,
Yeah. XLI is an important watch.
r-
I remember when we
right.
were watching this for here and we were thinking, would he create that industrial boom type of feel? It's been
Mm,
happening, guys, underneath our feet, and we're not watching it. It's a trade that you can keep your eyes on. Look where Boeing is, even though it had a crash, and we haven't heard anything from that crash. And it's starting to
yeah.
go back to the higher side, right? That's why I'm watching Deer. I like Picard here. I really do think that could have a shot to go back towards that trend line. So I'm going to keep an eye out on names like that. And we can watch GE as a real monster. You don't want to see that change. This has been one of the best names in the industrial space as of late. Even Honeywell isn't what GE used to be, and Honeywell is making an attempt here to break a high. Look, all-time highs attempt here for Honeywell. Hey guys, maybe some of that enthusiasm from GE really starts kicking into Honeywell. GEV, of course, insane, but that's in the nuclear space, and kind of also into your gas turbines. That's why GE's done really well. The gas turbines, it's really not even the nuclear. The nuclear just gives it kind of like a backing for long-term growth. But it's been an absolute monster. Definitely should have bought GEV when the split happened down here in the 200s. And we got an opportunity on this pullback in April off the two kind of 80s, 300 spot. But man, that thing's almost 600 already. So
Wow.
just some interesting conversations there. I mean, the things that catch me the most are the financials, right? Like that
Yeah.
type of move to me it's really something impressive. And you're going to start to see the XLF really kind of show that, right? It hasn't, I don't think, shown as much as the movement. Last week we saw the retail space, the regional banks really push. Let's see if we get another push in financials. And what comes next week? Financial earnings, of course. We're getting to the financials. The bank earnings are coming up. And what do they usually do? Michael, I think you've seen it countless times. They run them into the bank earnings,
Hmm.
right? And so
Always.
man,
Yeah.
it's a common play to see these plays kind of get ran into, right? So
What was interesting to me was I don't know, probably no one else cares, but the whole
yeah,
bank, the TLT, the treasury stuff.
yeah, the treasury stuff
He's
is very important. It's not having the best reaction today, right?
no, he's been fighting tooth and nail to try to get these interest rates down, and rightfully so. You can see the graphs out there about how much the government now spends financing its own debt, and it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, right? If they can
No,
drop rates, it's
it's
nuts, right?
it's just not sustainable in the sense of if you really think like this that matters, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think it matters, it's definitely not sustainable at the levels that it's at.
Well, yeah, I read it's more now on financing the debt than paying defense. So I get it, but it just seems like nothing he can do can
Yeah.
can drop interest rates. Just can't seem to do it. So uh, eventually, there's going to have to be, I guess, some sort of nuclear option. If he's been trying to be mean to J Pow on Twitter. This bill seems to try to affect interest rates, to pull them down. A lot of people have been saying, right, that was the whole tariff. That's why he was trying to tank the market. I thought that was hilarious. If everyone remembers that conspiracy theory, he's tanking the market so that interest rates go down. But nothing seems to be working. This is TNX. This is the 10-year yield, and it's been pretty steady. It's sitting around 4 to 4.5%. So that's interesting to me. Oh, Qs finally. Just a little bit, finally a little breakdown there on the Qs. So that's something to keep an eye on. Took a bit. It's been chopping around for a while, but we did finally have a little bit of break on the Qs.
Yeah, some people are at least AI is drawing reference here a little bit that maybe because of the oversight and increase kind of financial needs to lending that is now going to be a little bit weaker, that they can lend to certain players that maybe they weren't able to lend before. Maybe that can actually help here in the case of long high yield municipals like an ETF like HYD or something like that to kind of go higher. It's interesting. You're talking the
Yeah,
high yield
it's
outlook, right?
I
It's going to
I
be
know
a
rate
matter of the lending and things like that. Can you keep things going at the way that it is?
Yeah, and I know rate talk for a lot of people isn't the sexiest
The
thing in the world, but it affects
sexiest, yeah,
everything,
it
right?
does.
If you want more low cap, or micro cap unprofitable names to go crazy, you need low rates. If you want pretty much anything
Yeah.
to really move in the economy and to really get excited, you need small rates. The reason we've had this massive outperformance by the Mag 7 is because these are the only guys out there who don't care about rates, that they're able to finance. Apple's got more cash than God, so if rate goes up, it's good for them. If rates go down, it's good for them. It doesn't matter. Like they
Yeah.
have billions and billions and billions in cash. If you want the small cap companies, you want the little guys to start performing, and you want things like biotechs and areas like that to do well, you need lower rates, because a biotech, just by definition, is an unprofitable company because they don't have anything to sell, right? They're trying to build the next drug, but until then, they have negative revenues, which means they have to borrow money to stay afloat. And if interest rates are lower, that becomes easier. It becomes an easier way to do that. If interest rates are higher, it becomes near impossible to do that. So it's these interest rates, right? Although again, not important or not sexy to talk about, just affect the entire market, from right oil to mega caps to small caps to micro caps. And if rates stay high, it's kind of my theory is that we're going to continue to see this Mag 7 outperformance. The guys who have cash, the guys who don't care about rates, they can dump $10 billion into R&D and CapEx and not care. When rates start to come down, if Trump's successful, because it seems like he's fighting tooth and nail to get rates down, when these rates start to move lower, then you may have, small caps, small banks, biotechs, these smaller companies start to do something. And to me, that's a more exciting environment when you come in every day and there's, 20, 30 small cap movers, as opposed to right coming in and there's just kind of one or two, or Nvidia's moving again. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, so I'm excited to see if it works, but so far, he's not been able to bring down rates at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna hear about some deals coming in the next 48 hours or not. I don't know. At least that's just what's been said. So watch out there, guys. Of course, the tariff deadline coming in Wednesday, only 2 days away. So we'll hear something in the next 2 days about it, right? Not much coming out today. So
No.
we just got to see if there's anything else that gets said. But other than that, that's another reason why I think the market's leaking. Trump was like, you'll hear about it on Monday. People are like, dude, it's Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep going.
It's Monday,
But this is
bro.
why first thing I did when we broke down here is I just looked at our boy Walter Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Nothing there. So yeah, it's
Staples,
good.
I think, are going to be the move here as this starts to fade. You're seeing it already.
Trump could send this 17 hours ago. Never mind.
Pepsi
So yeah, no,
back above VWAP.
I would just say that I wouldn't trust any breakdown. I wouldn't trust any breakout until this kind of deadline is done. It makes sense why the market's been chopping the way it is. If we are waiting for a big event to occur, then you fade gap downs, you fade gap outs, you fade all these things, and then.
Dude, the move that scares me is the move on tobacco, man. That usually is a bad sign for markets. That's usually the bad sign, not the good sign. But PM has just been on an absolute freaking tear.
Yeah.
Philip Morris has just been ripping, man. I don't even understand that.
I think a lot of this PM move, I've talked to a lot of marijuana stock investors, and they're just looking at this as this is going to be the winner. You're going to get PM is going to clean. These guys are going to clean everyone up. They're going to buy one of these or a couple of these kind of hurting, like your Tilrays and stuff that are down 1 billion %. And they're like, we've got the farms, we got the technology, we got the distribution. You were a $370 stock. You're now 49 cents. You're a line item. to buy, your intellectual property, to, buy your marketing, to buy all those things, and then go from there. So, right, STZ, right, a lot of these names I think are just mergers in waiting.
It's crazy. I mean, BTI, right, would be your next player, your British name.
British tobacco, yeah.
Yeah,
BTI, same thing.
Crazy, like kind of U shape on that pattern.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll see what
See if
happens.
we can break that zone.
Unilever trying to break back up. Looking through this space like the kind of the staples right now. Just trying to see what's doing well right now. Grocery stores. How's the Sprouts, man? Stock I should have bought in the pandemic. The best Whole Foods that's ever come out. All these Whole Foods all these natural supermarkets have never done well, but this Sprouts Farms, it's on a whole nother ballgame.
It's been a wild chart.
It's
that core.
It's a good store, but man, I don't know if it's that good.
This is one of those times where news, I was watching this in the pre-market to add to my VWAP fade scan, but then you were telling me all the news of buyouts, and I took it off. But just look at the breakthrough and 2-day VWAP, the VWAP to VWAP move.
Yeah, man, it's back. I know it cost me. It cost me, Tommy. I tried to play it today, man. It cost me twice. I took 2 losses on that one today. Hey, you take a shot sometimes. You're going to make some, you're going to lose some. That's how the swing account's been. You need to keep it pushing, guys. You need to keep it pushing. Still in the green in the account. Keep getting up about like 50 to 60% of the goal. Need to make it past that. And so when I start to see like a roof or a ceiling in it, what I'm going to do, the moment I get any trade that goes past that, I'm going to take the profit. Right? Because you need to make a new ceiling. Right? Sometimes it's just about making that new ceiling. I'm going to try to push that bar a little bit further, right? I've gotten up close to about 60% of the goal. Let's see if we can get it to 65 or 70% of the goal. And then when we get there, don't hesitate, take the money, right? Because it's a goal search. It's not necessarily an endless amount of search, right? That's what you're trying to do when you're getting these evals.
Absolutely. Qs, again, just to summarize before we leave, now they're bouncing. I wouldn't be surprised if we get right back up to VWAP, right? So if we're waiting for Trump to say something, then you're probably best just to, sit on your hands and wait for that to come out. And then we'll see something. So, we could fast forward at the end of the day and we could be up 3% or down 3%, who knows? But
I think another thing is to remember that there's no earnings this week. There's no major economic data except maybe a jobs report at the end of the week, which really isn't big. It's like initial jobless claims. So there's really no like big turn that should happen here. I think it could also just be a kind of a nothing week because the tariffs, even though announced on Wednesday, could be announced, but the effect doesn't go in until August. So essentially it's just play ball again. Let's put the pressure on the countries again to see if they come to the table again. Right? And so I don't think anyone's buying that tariff scare this time if Trump does put on this tariff scare. And we'll see what happens, guys. Other than that, I think it's going to be waiting for earnings. They come around, right? Earnings are coming. I think we wait for earnings to be the real driver of this market, right? And Michael's been mentioning how earnings have been going higher. And I saw a couple of talking heads this weekend on Twitter, especially kind of your more strategists, right? Talking specifically about that, right? How earnings are going higher. If you're wondering why the market's going higher, continue to focus on that. Look at that. As earnings come into play, look for this market to maybe get hot again. It's okay to have this kind of little bit of a shake here, right? Where it's just trying to shake you out, both sides.
We're up really 9 days in a row, right?
Yeah, we're not really going down. This is the big thing. We're not going down, right? The price action sometimes is very important. Well, could there be a scare day? Yes, we're saying that. But at the same time, you got to stay with the trend. The trend's your friend until it isn't. Right now, that trend is higher. We'll see you guys next time right here on Trade the Pool. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll be live at 9 a.m. when you get Steve and Michael. I'll be on Trader TV at 8:45. See you next time, traders. Keep trading.